We had no Detroit teams in action last night as the Pistons and Red Wings were both off. Both of them played on Saturday, however. The Pistons lost to the Clippers and are now off until Thursday when they take on the Suns at home. For the Wings, they had a big win over the Montreal Canadiens on Saturday, leading to a showdown tonight with the Carolina Hurricanes, who sit 1 point ahead of the Wings for first place in the East. But tonight is a big game for other reasons. It is Sergei Fedorov jersey retirement night. The Wings will raise Fedorov's number 91 to the rafters at Little Caesars Arena tonight before they drop the puck with the Canes at 7. The club has asked fans to arrive much earlier than normal as the retirement ceremony is set to begin at 5:30 p.m. Arena doors will open at 4:20 this evening. The NFL wildcard round also began over the weekend, and what a round it was. 4 of the 5 games that took place Saturday and Sunday finished within 4 points or less. The Carolina Panthers nearly upset Matthew Stafford and the Rams on Saturday despite being double-digit underdogs at home. Then the Chicago Bears came all the way back from down 21-3 to defeat the Packers at home to advance to the divisional round for the first time since 2010. The Bills avoided tragedy in Jacksonville with a close 27-24 win yesterday thanks to a late Josh Allen rushing touchdown. Then San Francisco got past Philadelphia 23-19 on the road despite major injuries, including the torn Achilles of tight end George Kittle. The night ended with the only dud of the round as the Patriots outlasted Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers 16-3 in Foxborough. At the Crowell Health Sports Desk, I'm Brendan Shabath. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
Good morning. After an incredible wild card weekend, we are ready to roll. Jim Costa, John Jansen, Heather Park, Govin, Greg behind the glass. Also, happy Sergei Fedorov Day. We'll be giving away tickets for tonight's retirement ceremony and matchup against the Hurricanes in the 7 o'clock hour. John, good morning. How was your weekend?
Good morning. It was a great weekend. It was a very busy weekend. We had, this is birthday month in the Jansen house, so we had Ruby on, Ruby was yesterday. She turned 19. Jack on Saturday. He turned 15, so we got another driver's ed candidate. And so we had a couple of birthdays. Obviously, the football was amazing. Jack had a football banquet that took 5.5 hours. Those are always great. And new TV. So it was an unbelievable weekend. And all the Christmas decorations got put away. Wow. Rocking and rolling.
Okay, I have a lot of follow-up questions. How do we feel about the 15-year-old behind a wheel right now? Good?
Great.
Good.
You know, it's my 4th one, so I'm broken in regards to being able to handle some of the stresses. And as we all know, men are much better drivers than women. So excited to finally have a boy behind the wheel. I'll light that bomb and throw it out there right now.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. Yeah, I'm trust me, more drivers in the house, much better because of all kids' activities, and yes, driving to school, all those things.
Why does a banquet have to take 5.5 hours?
Well, this one had a medical episode right in the middle.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Now I feel like a jerk.
Yeah, no, that took a little while. It was going to take a minimum of 4 to 4.5 hours anyway.
How many awards
because
we handed
it was a state championship football banquet. So
and the best Tuesday practicer of the season goes to
yes, exactly. But it was fun and yeah. So that was Saturday.
Christmas decorations. Yeah, it sounds about right. New TV. Give me the details.
Yeah. Oh, so in our bedroom we had this old TV that we brought from the other house, and it just it would never connect to the internet. Because it's supposedly a smart TV that was dumb because it's 10 years old or whatever. I couldn't get all the apps on it. Every time I would turn it on, it would take 10 minutes to connect to the internet. So every single night when we would lay down, try and turn on the game, Lisa would hear me say a whole bunch of bad words, and I hate this TV. And so we're at Costco yesterday, and I mean, TVs aren't that expensive anymore. And so we got a new TV. Hung it up yesterday, got it connected, and it works like a charm, and it's bigger than the other one. So
how big is it?
It's a
I realized it right as I was saying it. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It leads me into one of the great lines in the Jansen household over the weekend, because it's the old one we had was 55. This one is 65. And so I hang it, and Lisa was out at the store. She comes back. She's laying down with Teddy, and she sees the TV. So she instantly comes out onto the loft, and she says, "It's so big." And I said, "You're welcome." And the kids all roll their eyes, throw pillows at me. And that's the enjoyment and the excitement of living in the Jansen house.
Look, it was a good weekend to get a new TV because you didn't really have to leave the couch with these matchups we had, John.
Oh, man. Thursday night, Friday night. And I know Friday nights was a blowout, but that was so much fun to watch Indiana just spank Oregon. Saturday, all day long. Great games. Well, all day long. 2 of them. And then Sunday, all day long. It just, yeah. And we got another one tonight. Now, I think tonight's going to be more of the defensive struggle.
A little bit like last night.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, I know there's overreactions that we're going to get to, and there's some good ones in there that I'm going to have to react to.
But just like on the surface, guys, we were treated to late game heroics up and down the card this weekend from the jump, right? The Panthers are suddenly in this thing with a lead late. Stafford with the ball, and the throw he made in the final minute was incredible. Not to be outdone, Caleb Williams had a 4th and 8 rolling to his left on a unbelievable play that he makes in a big spot. And you keep going. Josh Allen, gotta have it spot on the road. You can't get bounced in the first round, not in the playoffs without Mahomes, without Lamar, without Burrow and their heroics at the end. You just keep going up and down the card every single matchup, John. It's the Niners depleted, no Kittle. Eagles, though, their offense all year has struggled. A chance late with the football. What more could you have asked for from Wild Card Weekend?
It was very fun. It was just fun, and it obviously for Detroit fans, it needed to be fun.
Right.
It needed to be entertaining because we didn't have a seat at the table until we saw Hutch with a seat at the table because he's not playing. And it was a fun football weekend, which is, I know there's a lot of Detroit sports fans that were like, you know what, not going to watch it. And maybe you were watching the Wings on Saturday, which, hey, that was awesome.
Great call.
Yeah.
Emphatic win. 4-0. Shutout. Showdown with Montreal, the Canadiens.
Yeah.
And it'll be another big
Back
game.
in first place.
Yeah. Look, and John, how about this? We can't even use the caveat we've been saying, which is, well, they got a minus goal differential, so pump the brakes. Guess what, boys? Got a positive goal differential now. 7-2-1 in the last 10 games. And again, tonight is not just Fedorov night. I mean, that's the headline. 91 long overdue goes up to the rafters. They tell people get there way early, 5:30 in your seats for a 7 o'clock puck drop, 7:15. It's also just a good showdown. It's the first place team in the Metropolitan in Carolina against first place team in the Atlantic.
Yep. And I mean, we talk about this frequently in regards to is the wing season for real? Are you getting behind it? They are. Over the last week, right, we see them in first place, then we see them in second, then we see them in third, then we see them back in first. Like, it's that tight at the top of the Atlantic, but it's, 4 points above the cut line. And then after a week, 10 days, it's 5 points above the cut line. And then after another couple of weeks, it's 6 points. Like, they're starting to inch into a category of creating a decent buffer where it's not just, hey, we lose tonight, somebody else wins, or that we got a game in hand, all of those different things. Like, they're starting to get to that point where you're like, you got to have to make the decision. You think this team is going to be in the playoffs or not? Now, yeah, bunch of season left to play, and we know that your favorite month of the year, March, is still on the horizon, but
he says it like there's no pain in his voice. It's a big deal what they do in the month of MARCH. But I've tried to live in the moment, and I really do appreciate what I'm seeing. Like, this is kind of everything that you dreamed of all at once, right? It's 100 years of hockey. You put the Hockey Town logo back. You retire 91. You're first place team. You're playing winning hockey. The Gibson signing. I want to spotlight that for a second because he was off to such a rough start this year, including the first game of the season. He was chased by Montreal. Well, what does he do over the weekend on the road at their place? Saves every single shot they throw at the net. And John, he has been very good now for over a month. He's been good since the start of December. And some of this is, I think they're playing better in front of him. It's that relationship, defense and goaltending. You got to play with one another, not against one another. Fewer odd man rushes, right? More blocked shots, less quality chances, and you let a goalie build some confidence. It's a real thing. The confidence of a goaltender shows up in rebound control, shows up in positioning, that little extra juice. You know you've got a goalie. It helps your team when you go into any big matchup. So, look, I think the save percentage is identical to what it was last year. But if you were to ask, well, what about for the last month and a half? It's better. And that's maybe the difference. You start looking for things. Well, how is this going to be different than last year's or the year before's Red Wing team? Because 2 years ago, John, they famously had that 9-10 point cushion and missed the playoffs. And that cushion existed in MARCH. So it's why it's important that we look for things to be different, because you got to survive that month, especially with the Olympic layover. But everything is exactly what you'd want it to be right now. You got a first-place club that's improving.
Yep. And it's fun because, one, it hasn't felt like this in a long time, but it's so many young players. And we want to know, like, are they going to hit a wall? Or because some of them, a lot of them, won't be playing over the Olympic break, like,
rust.
is this, well, it could be rust, but it could also be that little break, hey, the vacation in the middle of the year that just re-energizes you. It hits that pause button. You get a chance to sleep a little bit more, recover a little bit more, and then because it's 82 and you got this month-long break almost in the middle, hey, it's kind of split up half and half. Let's get after it again in the second half. How are they going to react? Like, we don't know about that.
Yeah, and it's why, like, you wanted the guys to get recognition and play for their country, but for DeBrincat or for Kane or for Edvinson, kind of an odd snub in my mind, those guys won't get hurt. You know what I mean? They won't be playing high-level hockey to where you put yourself in harm's way, and they should come back refreshed for that push. And for the guys that are playing, I get it, man. Go represent your country. Come back and hit the ground running. It's right there for them. It's been right there for them the last couple years. It'll be very interesting to see. Does Yzerman handle the deadline any differently if he's got a first-place team? Right?
I think he'll be forced to. Now, it doesn't mean he has to be forced to make a deal or to make one that would handicap them moving forward. But, I mean, sure, if you're in that position, can't you make yourself just a little bit better?
I would think so. And you know other people around you will, which is, again, part of it. 248-539-9797. We had a great weekend with the NFL. We've got Overreact Gyms at 7:02. Some big takeaways from this weekend. If you've got some you want to sprinkle in early, let us know. 248-539-9797. We've got Red Wing tickets for tonight's game. 7 o'clock hour. Be listening. We'll tell you how to win those tickets. 6:35. Later this hour, are the Detroit Rams back?
Come on, man.
You got Bears-Rams in the next round of the playoffs.
Bears.
It's 97-1. Start the year and drive at Moran Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 selling Chevy dealer 2 years in a row. Moran makes car buying a breeze, and of course, you always get the best price, period. Right now, GM employees and immediate family members can lease a 2026 Equinox LT for only $299 a month. That's $999 down. Straightforward pricing, no runaround. Shop online, see what I'm talking about, MoranExpress.com, or they'll take care of you in person. Stop out there on Gratiot, just north of 15 Mile in Clinton Township. Moran Chevrolet, where you always get the best price, period. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Good morning, 97.1. Jim Costa, John Jansen, Heather Park, Govin Greg behind the glass. 7 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets for tonight's Sergei Fedorov night at Little Caesars Arena. Also a showdown between two first-place teams. Carolina Hurricanes in town, first place in the Metro, and the Red Wings, first place in the Atlantic. John, I mentioned that John Gibson had a shutout over the weekend in Montreal. Far cry from his performance in the opener. He's played so much better. Since December 1st, he's 12-2 with a .932 save percentage. That's unbelievable. And I don't know how much of it is he's become a significantly better goalie, or they finally started playing competent defense in front of him, and it's built him back into that confident goalie he once was.
It's
chicken or the egg, doesn't matter.
It's like a lot of things that we talk about. There's a lot of factors involved. I'm sure there, on some level, it's both. Or all of the factors, but there's always going to be some shots on goal. Mm-hmm. And when your goalie is playing as he is, it helps the defense, gives the defense more confidence, and all of a sudden the defense starts playing better. But I believe it starts with a goalie that is playing at a high level right now.
Yeah, and then I don't know if this coincides with Seider and Edvinsson playing together, but when you can go 25 minutes a night with a shutdown pair, take up almost half the game, that'll go a long way too. And both those guys have had strong seasons.
Well, and another factor, throw in there Todd McClellan and his coaching staff.
Full year.
It is a full year, and it's a full year not just of, hey, here's how we want to do the X's and O's of it, but it's a full year of a standard that was set, and if you can't live up to it, we'll find somebody that will.
Ding, ding, ding. All right, some of the texts pouring in. We mentioned we'll get into Overreact gyms from the weekend, wildcard weekend that featured all kinds of close football games and dramatic finishes. This one says, guys, it's a shame the Packers didn't take the points twice against the Bears. That could have been the difference. Oh, wait, they did take the points, and it isn't automatic.
That was
McManus,
a wild
baby.
game.
Unbelievable.
It was just a wild game.
What, he missed 2 kicks and an extra point?
And how about all the memes that come out afterwards of Matt LaFleur being on the staff and the sideline 28-3 for the Atlanta Falcons against the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And now he's the one that's up 21-3. He was up, 16 in the fourth quarter and lost it.
You hate to see it, John. Look, I don't like seeing the Bears win.
A lot of conflicts in that game.
I'll say I don't like seeing the Bears win, but nice consolation prize is seeing the Packers lose.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got here? This Ticket Text says, guys, I don't want to hear anybody spewing that Goff is better than Purdy. Look at what Purdy did. That mobility, those skills, he's on another level than Goff.
I don't know that I would say that. I would say that Kyle Shanahan is on another level.
The coaching job, I think he should be the coach of the year.
I think he should be the coach of the year, and quite honestly, Robert Saleh should be the defense coordinator of the year.
What he's done with what they lost,
assistant coach of the year, whatever they have.
Yeah, I know in college it's the Broyles Award, but whatever equivalent. Yeah, give him some love.
What he's been able to do, losing Greenlaw as a linebacker, losing Bosa as an edge, losing a number of other guys. Yeah, it's
their
just
first round pick Williams out of Georgia has been out,
and yet they still find a way to scratch and claw and get wins. Do enough to give your offense a chance.
And always pretty. How about this, guys? It'd be nice if the Lions were in the playoffs with no Chiefs and no Eagles. Signed Hoff.
Sure.
It's so wide open.
So, I mean, that's what we talked about with Josh Allen. Hey, there's no Burrow. There's no Mahomes. There's no, Lamar Jackson. And it took all he could do to get through week one of the wild card weekend of the playoffs. Now, I don't know if it ultimately means that they go on to win the Super Bowl, but it didn't feel like a Super Bowl winning team for the Bills.
But who did? Who would you come out and say, boy, I watched them this weekend and they are head and shoulders better than the field? Nobody. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
And this isn't me saying if the Lions got in, they'd win the Super Bowl, but it just feels as open as it's been. This was the stat, right? The first playoff without Brady, Manning, or Mahomes since 1999. Mm-hmm. And it shows we don't need these guys because we still got great football.
Yeah, but we still have, Denver and Seattle to see in the postseason, and maybe they're the ones that just, knock your socks off.
Guys, I see the 49ers have made it this far with all their injuries, but Lions apologists always have to say the reason they didn't make it was because of injury. I think the Niners are...
Yeah, they're debunking that one. Now, they may ultimately get eliminated because of that. And we thought that last year with the Lions. Like, hey, they no matter how banged up they were, they should have beat Washington. But to think that in the NFC Championship game they were going to beat the Eagles, okay, that's where it moves from excuse to reason.
But I guess the point would be what the Niners showed you is finding a way. And the Lions used to do that, right? They had some injuries last year and won 15 football games. This year, it can't be the excuse that they were too injured. They just didn't find a way to win these games, and you've seen San Francisco prove the case. You can still navigate those injuries. Their quarterback missed 8 games. Brock Purdy missed 8 regular season games. How many NFL teams lose their starting quarterback for half the season and still make the playoffs? How many are going to miss all pros, plural, on defense and go into Philadelphia and win a road playoff game against the defending champs? That is the grit that we used to see here in Detroit. So 248-539-9797. We got some text coming in about Detroit Rams and rooting interest with Matthew Stafford going toe-to-toe with Ben Johnson next round of the NFL playoffs. We'll get to that at 6:35. Let's get to Heather with the news.
This news is brought to you by Gardner White. Well, one battle after another. Hamnet, The Pit, Adolescence, and The Studio were big winners at the Golden Globes last night. So the 83rd annual award show, which was hosted for the second consecutive year by Nikki Glaser, celebrated the best in film and television. I did not watch. I'm guessing you guys weren't watching either because there was other things on TV last night. But it sounds like it was a very tame night at the award show. Everything kind of went off without a hitch. There was no, unsavory jokes, no big, huge political statements, and a lot of the projected winners won. But it sounds like everything kind of went off as you would imagine.
As everything went chalk. It was just as it was written.
Which I guess is not a bad thing.
No,
the time.
The shows you reference are the shows that people have been talking about. So
here's some of the winners. And some of them I've never seen or even heard of, which is not surprising because that's typically how it goes. Best Motion Picture, Hamnet, that won. One battle after another won for Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy, which, did you guys watch that?
No.
Yeah, no singing, no real big laughs, but it was a good movie. But definitely not a comedy. Also won for Best Supporting Actress, Best Director, Best Screenplay. So lots of awards for that one. That has Leonardo DiCaprio, so
I'm out.
Sinners won. K-pop Demon Hunters won. Lots of awards. As far as TV goes, The Pit got a lot of wins there. Best Drama, Best Actor as well.
Have either of you guys seen that?
Oh, yeah, I've watched it.
No, okay. I honestly, I know we'll talk about this later in the month. I'm going to turn 50 at the end of the month, and I feel even older right now because you're talking about what is current on TV, and I don't even think I've heard almost of any of these, TV or movies.
I watched The Pit last season. I watched the first.
What's it about?
It's intense.
It's like ER. Basically, but not quite.
Oh, you know what? I thought I saw
It's like
a commercial for it, and it's got one of the doctors from ER.
Yes.
Okay.
And he won for Best Actor, Noah Wyle. Yeah. So it's a good show. Adolescence won a lot, too. I watched that.
I already went through that phase of my house. I don't need it anymore.
Television limited series. That was good. The Studio won Best Television Series. Obviously, you can go on and see the list of all the winners, but I've seen some, heard of some. but haven't seen most.
Okay.
You guys, after 132 years in business, Dietrich Furs will be officially closing its doors this spring. Now, I'll tell you, I've never worn fur in my life, whether it be real or faux.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I will always remember, and that's the commercial
Me
that goes
too.
along with Dietrich Furs. You just keep saying it.
As soon as I saw this news article, I started singing that in my head. And for those that grew up in the Detroit area, or at least of my age as well,
Yes.
Heather, yours, it's the woman on the horse with the white fur.
Yes. Yep. So the business is now in its 5th generation of family retail. And the family released a statement saying that they have made the decision to retire. They're going to focus on health and well-being and the family. So good for them.
Yeah.
The store will close on April 30th, and they will be holding a retirement liquidation sale.
It's sad that it's closing because of the time that it has been part of the Southeast Michigan, Detroit community. I'm just glad that they're retiring from their choice. And it's not it's not a business matter. They're just retiring.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was because Erin Andrews bought the entire catalog. Did you see what she was wearing this weekend?
Yeah.
Yes, I think
was
we all saw
the
that.
skunk pelt.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of fur it was, but it was large. But she was warm.
It was poofy.
And it was, yes, billowing in the wind a little bit. It was like it was like you said, skunk fur.
Yeah, it was a skunk pelt.
Reminiscent of pelts. Yes, excuse me. Well, after playing the same numbers for 20 years, a Macomb County man won $32 million.
Wow.
Playing Lotto 47. 73-year-old man. He's going to remain anonymous, but like I said he's been playing Lotto 47 for 20 years, always uses the same set of numbers. Boom, finally hit. Couldn't believe it. He purchased the winning ticket in Chesterfield, and he's already went to claim his prize of one-time lump sum payout of $22.8 million. And you know what he plans to do? First thing?
Retire.
Well, I'm sure he already is at 73. I hope he's retired. He plans to buy a new pair of shoes and a car.
Okay.
And then share the rest with family.
All right. There
Yeah,
you go.
get a really
new pair of
nice
sneakers.
Really nice pair of sneakers.
Greg, you're the numbers guy. Is there any advantage to playing the same numbers over and over again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just random luck. And he
Good
hit,
for
so
him.
good for him. You probably heard Ben Johnson after the big win. He didn't hold back his feelings following Chicago's victory over Green Bay. They posted on their social media page, but as part of his post-game locker room speech, he shouted, F the Packer. Oh, there it goes. I didn't know if we had sound or not, but I'm glad we did. Yeah, F the Packers.
Yeah. Well, it's just a whole lot of beeping.
It is. Yeah, the sound is. Exactly.
It's Heather with the news. It's 97.1. We'll have some reactions and overreactions coming up at 7:02 with the Overreact Gyms. But we want to talk a little bit about wildcard weekend. Open lines, 248-539-9797. Thrillers, incredible football, big-time storylines. And, John, it shapes up that this next round of the playoffs will feature Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears against Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Are the Detroit Rams back?
No, I don't think anybody is sitting there going, oh, well, we're going to root for Stafford because he was here and he was such a nice guy. That old entire ship has sailed again. It's no longer an issue. So the question is, would you rather be rooting for the Rams or the Bears?
I'd rather root against the division. I would rather root for the Rams.
But, okay, just stick with me here.
Yeah, I'll work with you.
The Lions were only, 2 wins away from winning the division.
Yeah.
So if somebody in your division, it's like the Big Ten. If somebody in the Big Ten wins the national title, then, yeah, woohoo, best conference. If not that the Bears are going to go on and win the Super Bowl, but if you want to say, well, we lost out on the toughest division, or we lost to the eventual, NFC title contenders or NFC champs, it doesn't do you any good. But
you don't root for your rival. The Bears are a rival. I don't have the personal venom towards Ben Johnson that I know some of our listeners have.
See, I don't either, and that's why it's.
But you have personal venom towards Stafford?
No, Sean McVay. I can't stand him. I can't stand him. And I just don't want I don't want an LA team. They don't even care about football out there. They don't care about it at all. At least the city of Chicago cares about their team, even though they're going to lose it to the state of Indiana. They care about their team. Like Midwest, we care about football. And I still do have a connection. And I know, okay, Blake Corum plays for the Rams and Colston Loveland plays for, I always go back to the whole Michigan connection. And so I'd just like to see Colston Loveland get a nice run in the postseason. That's what it boils down for me.
Well, they had their win. There's their nice run.
Yeah.
Look, I don't believe the whole Detroit Rams movement was pathetic. It's one thing if you were like, hey, I want Stafford to do well when he leaves. It's not his fault. He was saddled with baggage, the losing organization that is the Detroit Lions. But Detroit Rams became this weird, Detroit gets credit if Stafford wins.
Yeah, I never bought into that.
We don't get credit for failing him. It doesn't count towards a Detroit
or him failing us. Yeah,
I think we know what it was more of.
It takes two. But yes, I mean, they didn't give them they didn't have the support, whether it was a defense at the time or a rushing game at the time. They did give them one of the best receivers in the history of football.
Of course, but it was more of an indictment on what the Lions didn't do with a future Hall of Fame quarterback. It wasn't it shouldn't have been some rallying cry for Detroit sports fans. It should have been a cry for help.
Yeah.
Because this guy's going and doing this thing. So anyway, how you feel about this matchup? We're going to have all week. I know you're going to be watching it, even if you're nauseated. Ben Johnson against Matthew Stafford. Who are you going to root for? And maybe it's Bane to have the field explode or, open up. 248-539-9797. The first text says, Detroit Rams were a one-time thing for most Lions fans. It was buried when we had the wild card against the Rams. I don't want the Bears to win, but I don't care if the Rams win.
I mean, maybe that's
just indifference.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, who were you rooting for between the Packers and the Bears? It was, you knew eventually if they went into overtime, it was just going to keep going until somebody won. I don't know. It's kind of maybe hoping that they would just go in perpetuity and the curfew would hit. They'd have to stop the game and then restart it the next day. I don't know. It was just, I was hoping for chaos no matter what it was.
I'm glad you guys brought up the Detroit Rams. The way Stafford and Ben left couldn't have been more different. Stafford did it with class, and we all agreed it was time to move on. Ben Johnson went to a division rival, took several gratuitous parting shots at our guys on his way out the door. I hope Stafford embarrasses them.
I don't have an issue with how Ben Johnson left. Do I think he is a D-bag? Yeah. But I kind of felt that here. Now, but he was ours, and we didn't get a chance to hear from him as much as you hear from a head coach, but I don't think he's different or acting different because he's now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. I think he was that guy here in Detroit, but at the time we accepted all of it because he was ours. And how he left, there was a job opening. And he's going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
And he interviewed it for, I know everybody says, oh, he wasn't prepared for the Washington game. There was a lot of people that weren't prepared for the Washington game. But he went through the same process as every other single coach that is playing in the postseason or that had the week 1 bye because they were the 1 seed and then took a job.
I don't hate, like I said, I don't have the venom or the hate for Ben Johnson that a lot of people do. To me, it's just as simple as this. F the Bears. It's as simple as they're the division rival. That is where my ire would be. I would rather them lose. This text says, as a self-proclaimed Stafford slappy, the Detroit Rams are absolutely back. I loved watching him this weekend. Vintage Stafford would 100% rather have the Lions alive, but I did get that good old Detroit Rams feeling this weekend. It was fun. Love the Bears matchup.
I didn't get that feeling at all.
John, this text says, there's a flaw in your logic. I root for the Big Ten unless it's Ohio State. So go Stafford and company, Leo, in the truck.
Yeah, I was kind of forced with that conundrum last year when Ohio State was playing for the national title. And it was easier last year because Michigan had beaten them. Still don't know how, but they did. They ended up with more points than they did.
I might hate the Bears and dislike Ben Johnson, but there's one thing you can tell. He learned from Dan taking things personal, and he took it out on the Packers going into that game.
I didn't have any issue with the post-game handshake. I know everybody tried to make a big deal about that. I didn't have an issue with that. And I don't have an issue with, the old, F the Packers in the locker room. Like that's
a locker room.
Well, it's a locker room, yeah. And I mean, if
it's fiery, it's competitive.
If there were cameras in there when I was playing, like it would have been a whole lot of the same. It's just this is, in the last, 4 years, really, this whole post-game locker room speech where the cameras are allowed in there immediately for the head coach's, pep talk. I don't have any issue with that either. I'd prefer that he kept his shirt on at all times.
Okay, but this text speaks to it. He says, are we okay to chant F Ben Johnson now? Because honestly, F Ben Johnson, it's classless, but man, F Ben Johnson.
It's not how I would operate, but you do you.
Guys, I didn't have some huge issue with him using it as we say F the Packers.
Yeah.
Our fans say that. You don't think the competitors who got the juices flowing after a big game?
Yeah, the opponent's head coach.
Come on.
Yeah. I don't have any issue with that.
4 words on the ticket text. Okay, we said, who are you rooting for? Ben Johnson and the Bears or Matthew Stafford and the Rams? A conflicted Detroit. Who are you rooting for? 4 words. Rooting for the Meteor. We'll get more of your feedback.
Yeah, when are the aliens supposed to come? From behind the meteor?
We've got open lines, some good responses coming in. We'll take your calls, read your texts. It's 97.1.
Hey, if hair loss has been on your mind, Dr. Berkowitz at Michigan Hair Restoration is the doctor you need to go see. He was just named the top hair restoration surgeon in the Midwest, and that award reflects what his patients and his own family already know. Dr. B has had the procedure himself. He's restored his son's hair and his nephew's too. And when it comes to trust, it doesn't get more personal than that. Dr. B is a board certified surgeon and the only physician in Detroit offering both SmartGraft and NeoGraft, all performed by his full-time in-house medical team. There's no traveling techs, no shortcuts, just real natural hair you can run your fingers through. And if you've been waiting for the right time, this is it. Don't put it off another year. Make 2026 the year you look like yourself again. Schedule your free consultation today, and when you mention 97.1, you'll receive $1,000 off your procedure. Dr. B treats every patient like family. Visit MichiganHairRestoration.com.
Are the Detroit Rams back? Are you rooting for Stafford again as they face the Bears next round of the playoffs? We got Overreact Jim's coming up at 7:02, recapping Wild Card Weekend. Great responses coming in. Rooting for the Bears. Once the Lions are out, I want to see the division win. Go Lions. I'm always rooting for Kelly Stafford's pain. Go Bears. Her and her kids?
Yeah, only you.
Rooting against the Bears. Ben Johnson has a punchable face. John, Ben Johnson is far more unlikable to me than Sean McVay. I hated his F the Packers gimmick in the post-game speech, and the handshake was ridiculous. Go Rams.
I didn't have any issue with the handshake.
John is wrong. Still rooting for Stafford. He would have done more here with protection. And a run game and a defense. And yeah. Guys, I hated the Detroit Rams thing, but I'll always be a Stafford fan. The guy gave his all for this franchise and left on good terms. I'm rooting for Chicago because they have Bregman. That may or may not make an appearance in the Overreactions. Stafford all day. The Bears need to go down. I want the Bears to win because we lost to them twice, and it could have been us.
Wait, we lost to the Bears twice? No, we beat the Bears.
I want the
twice.
Oh, we beat them twice. That's what it says.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
That's on me, not the texter.
Yeah.
Because they beat
Go
because the
fire
Lions
up ships.
because they beat the Bears twice. It could be us.
I mean, yeah, it's if we don't need to rehash why the Lions are out of it. They're out of it. I just don't have. This is, and I understand it. For the vast majority of Detroit sports fans or Lions fans, it may be the case that you just can't stand it that the Bears would win a postseason game. They've already won one. You don't want them to see them win two. I just don't like the Rams. My disdain for them is greater than the disdain for the Bears.
There's a world where Ben Johnson's Bears host an NFC championship game. I would prefer that doesn't happen. If Stafford goes on to win a Super Bowl, I already know it. He's an elite quarterback. He's already proven
he's already
it.
won one.
Yeah. I would rather that outcome than Ben Johnson hosting an NFC title or winning an NFC title or going to a Super Bowl and doing all the things we thought he would do when he was here. Again, I don't hold it against him, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
By 16 in the second half and wither that one away.
Let's get to the phones. Steve in Southfield, you got some thoughts on a wild card weekend?
Hey, how you doing, fellas? Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm pulling for the Rams, not because of no Detroit Rams crap, but I think that Rams are a better team, so I think they'll win. And as far as the Bears, I hope the Lions beat them 52-0 for the next 50 years. So I care less about Ben Johnson. I just hate the Bears. But my comment was, this weekend when I watched the Bills and the Jaguars play, they carried Josh Allen, the last first down that Buffalo got in the touchdown. They picked him up and carried him. I know people were complaining about forward progress and they blow the whistle, but when you got a player like Barry Sanders, you never know when he's going to be actually stopped unless he's laying on the ground. But that's ridiculous. I mean, it's like Three Stooges football. You pick the guy up and you carry him 10 yards. He couldn't even see his feet moving. So I think that the league needs to change that rule as far as this tush-push thing. I think they need to outlaw that altogether. And it's not the way you're supposed to play football. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks, Steve. I did think it was funny that it was the David Montgomery where you saw David Montgomery's feet not touch the ground. He's actually laughing, and they carry him for another 3 to 5 yards.
Crowd surfing, yeah.
This was the Josh Allen version of it where he ends up not actually getting into the end zone because they said he was down on the one.
Which actually was a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because you want to burn timeouts and clock. You don't want to score too much time.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wasn't like 4 guys were carrying Josh Allen. It looked like mostly one guy. Osiris Torrance,
their
350-pound guard, just kept him moving. Unbelievable. See, that's as an offensive lineman, you got to love that stuff.
Oh, I do. I'm conflicted on that because if it's in the midfield like the David Montgomery one was, where, hey, all of a sudden – offensive linemen start to get involved and they push the running back forward. They pick up the first down, or it's they gain 4 or 5 extra yards. It's an energy builder. It's a momentum builder, and I like that. But I also don't like it. I don't mind the tush push, but I don't like the assisting a runner situation. So I'm okay if it stays in, but I wouldn't be heartbroken if they said you can't assist a runner.
Okay.
Ball carrier.
Yeah. 248-539-9797. We got some response coming in on wildcard weekend. Says you guys were glazing Howie Roseman all season, and his team only made it a bit further than the Lions. The guy's got a couple Super Bowls. Not every move's going to pan out, but he clearly takes swings and tries to make them a better team. And they just were not, John, at any point this season, the team they were a year ago. No matter what he did, they weren't going to reformat this.
There were some other things going on. Did you see Sirianni run down the sidelines to start chewing on A.J. Brown? And
what do you think he said?
And then
to him?
A.J. Brown, drops an important first down, with 3 minutes left in the game. I don't know what to make of it. It just seems like there's something going on in that locker room that we can see, but nobody's saying anything about.
Yeah, what do you think Sirianni said to him? I know after the game he said that's kind of our relationship. We can be intense. We went through every emotion together. Brady was defending it on the broadcast going, that's just competitors. A coach is challenging his player.
I get that, but to run 25 yards down the field,
sprint up to
him, and get in his face like that. It'd be one thing if you're, hey, you walk up to him, he's sitting at the bench, and you show him the iPad, and you're like, hey, what the hell are you doing on this? Like, this is not what we coach, not what we do. It's not the effort we need, whatever it is.
And then tempers naturally flare up, and that happens.
But to charge at him, it just seemed odd.
What do you think he was saying? Your ass wanted to get traded, and you can't catch the effing ball?
I don't know. Sit down, read your book. I don't know.
Catch the ball. You're demanding the ball. Catch it when we throw it to you.
But they had only thrown it to him like twice in the game.
Yeah. Well, they had a couple deep shots to him, and one was like just tip of his fingers that he didn't bring in, and then the obvious drop in the fourth quarter on a third down. Now, Hurts converts the very next play, but yeah, man, like that's your stud receiver.
Yeah, that's your number one. That's the guy you traded for. That's a move that we saw. Howie Roseman going out there and making the team better. Those are the type of moves where, if you want to use the term glazing Howie Roseman, like that was one of them that we used to talk about how, the moves he was making, how we thought that it was him going after a Super Bowl.
Let's get to Duke. You're next up. Good morning, Duke. You're on 97.1.
Hey, how you doing? I was just telling the screener, I'm so conflicted. This was a nightmare for me this weekend. Because I love Stafford. I loved Ben when he was here, but I didn't like how he left. And he took all our principles, and now he's winning with them. He can't beat us, but he's winning with them. So I can't see them win a championship. So that's hard to watch. And then Stafford winning 2 before we win 1, then the whole talk is going to be the Rams won the trade.
Well, they already did win the trade. I
don't think they did yet. I think it's, you know what I mean? Because I think, okay, if we win a championship next year without them winning, without them winning 2, then it was kind of even. Don't you agree, maybe?
I suppose there's a world where we can even things, but currently they won the trade.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any way to look at it other than, you can't just sit there and say, well, the Lions are doing things that they've never done in franchise history, but they haven't won a Super Bowl.
Right.
The Rams won a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford won a Super Bowl, so they won the trade. It can work out for both.
It can, yeah. And I think it has worked out for both, but they're the big winners of the trade because they won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And whether they win 2, 3, 4, 10, they won the trade. We could, I suppose, to his point, win a Super Bowl with Goff and the guys that we got back and say it's a tie, but we're not winning the trade. They made an all-in move to win a Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl. Like, mission accomplished.
Right, yeah. If I don't know if the Rams just have an issue about playing in Carolina. That was a very non-Rams performance, just like the last time they were there. And we always thought, well, it was the rain, it was the all of those things. But what I saw them, I didn't see a Super Bowl winning team. I saw a wide open playoff field.
It's 97-1.
Brought to you by Blue Chew. Tonight, the Red Wings will battle the Carolina Hurricanes for first place in the Eastern Conference. The Wings lead the Atlantic Division after a win over Montreal on Saturday. Tonight, a win in regulation will give them sole possession of first place in the entire East. However, the team will first retire the jersey of legendary center Sergei Fedorov, who scored 400 goals in his over 900 career games in Detroit. Fedorov's number 91 will join just the 8 other retired numbers atop Little Caesars Arena tonight. Fedorov won 3 Stanley Cups in his 13-year career with the Wings. The ceremony begins at 5:30 tonight ahead of puck drop against the Canes at 7 o'clock. The NFL playoffs began over the weekend. On Saturday, former Lions quarterback Matthew Stafford and the Rams barely escaped with a 34-31 win over the Carolina Panthers as we saw vintage Stafford lead a late game-winning drive once again. Then 2 Lions rivals had a classic showdown in Chicago as Ben Johnson and the Bears came back from down 21-9 in the fourth quarter to beat Jordan Love and the Packers. The Bears are going to the divisional round for the first time since 2010. On Sunday, Josh Allen and the Bills defeated Jacksonville 27-24 on the road. Then the 49ers outlasted the Eagles 23-19 in Philly. The night ended with former Michigan head football coach Jim Harbaugh losing his second AFC wildcard game as the Chargers fell 16-3 to the Patriots. The wildcard round concludes tonight as the Texans face the Steelers in Pittsburgh. That game kicks off at 8:15. At the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Brendan Shabath. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
We don't need Mahomes or Brady to have a great postseason. Got things started with Wild Card Weekend. We've got Overreact Gyms. Let's do it.
Gross.
You're the slob. You're the gross one. Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears made a deal with Satan himself. Down 18 at the half. They didn't have their usual 2 or 3 turnovers. No, the other team missed 3 kicks, 2 field goals, and an extra point. Suddenly, the Packers can't run the football. Only 6 in the second half. I don't know. Something happened. LaFleur was possessed. The devil's involved somehow. I just don't know how to explain what the Bears keep doing. 25 fourth quarter points?
Well, it's what we've seen the Bears do all season long. Is they're terrible in the first half, and then they mount some heroic recovery in the second half. We saw it through the entire season. Like, look at the Cincinnati game. How do they get down that much to the Bengals, and then in the last seconds come away with the win? They did it against Detroit, down 16-0, and then the fourth quarter they tied up 16-16. Now the magic didn't work against the Lions. It worked enough to get it. There's no deal with the devil.
John, that may have been the deal. Is you can't beat Dan Campbell. Right. You have to go 0-2. But I'll grant you a division title, the best turnover luck in football, and when that doesn't work, we'll make the ball miss the uprights for the other team.
Well, turnover luck I don't buy into.
That's not sustainable to be +2 most games in the turnover margin.
They've been kind of that all season long.
I know, it's wild.
So this is an overreaction because you took it to the biggest extreme. They did not make a deal with Satan. Teams can't make deals with Satan. Okay?
I don't know.
It just doesn't work that way. They've been very, very lucky and fortunate. I mean, but Jim,
Jim, next time Ben Johnson takes his shirt off, is the mark of the beast on him? We need to look a little closer.
But look at the history of the game. I'll bring up a team pretty recent. The 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars went 10-6 and got to the AFC Championship game with Doug Marrone and Blake Bortles. Okay? They went into Pittsburgh and hung 45 on them in the divisional round on that defense. They had Tom Brady down 20-10 in the fourth quarter, and then it finally caught up to him. That's what's going to happen to the Bears.
Depending on who you are labeling as Satan, maybe they did some deal with Roger Goodell.
Oh, God. Scriptwriters. Do you believe? This is one you're going to see a lot today. The Packers should fire Matt LaFleur. Blown lead, abandoned the run in the second half, total of 7 rush attempts. Wasting timeouts because you can't get lined up, and then a delay a game out of a timeout. They gave up 25 points in the fourth quarter, and zoom out. He's 3-6 in the playoffs. They lost 5 straight games to close the season. It's time for Green Bay to move on.
I don't think it means Matt LaFleur is a bad coach. I always wanted to see what he was going to do after Aaron Rodgers, and quite honestly, it hasn't been a lot. I still think he's a good offensive mind. I think he's a good head coach. I think maybe his time has just run its course in Green Bay. I do think that they need a fresh voice, a fresh look, and I do think that Green Bay should move on from LaFleur.
This is not an overreaction. They should fire him. He's 76-40-1 in the regular season. He's 3-6 in the playoffs. You know, he's just one of those guys that can't get them over the hump. It's time for change, especially since John Harbaugh's on the market.
What is his playoff? What was I going to say? What's his playoff record without Aaron Rodgers? Isn't it like 1-3 or something like that?
I think it was 1-5.
One
no,
win,
good
yeah.
because he lost his last one.
It was the Dallas one.
Dallas is the only win. All right, your next Mew. Matthew Stafford will be remembered as a Ram, not a Lion. His most iconic moments are happening in a Rams uniform. Despite spending a decade here.
Yeah, and I mean, he may spend a decade there. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. So even if it's close to the time that he played with the Lions, people remember he was drafted by the Lions, and they'll remember the trade and all that stuff. But he will be remembered more as a Ram simply because he's probably going to win the MVP this year. He has already won a Super Bowl.
And he's leading game-winning drives in the playoffs in another team's uniform.
Plus, it's where he finishes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an overreaction. He will be remembered as a Ram, and I don't think it matters if he wins one or not now because he should win the MVP, I think. Yep. Guys, let's just face it. The Lions failed him. It was the Lions' fault.
Yep.
Oh, we're going to blow you out.
Tony Romo is the worst analyst calling football games on television. Ooh, I don't know, Jim. He is speaking in exclusively generalities. No more insight than we had when he first took over, where he would try to break things down, the hows and the whys. Now it's big fourth down here. At some point, they're going to try play action. He's clearly not putting in the prep during the week, and he's flying by the seat of his pants. When the Bills scored their first touchdown, he was confused and started confusing the listeners, the viewers. Oh, the play's not going to count. And poor Nance is like, ref signal touchdown. This is a Bills touchdown. Meanwhile, it couldn't be more jarring. The very next game of the day, Tom Brady. He's providing insight. He's showing you the different way you throw a football in the wind. Like there's real analysis, insight, learning. Romo is a blowhard at this point.
Well, I'm not going to say anything nice about Tom because people will just say, oh, it's a Michigan guy. Listening to Romo is a painful listen, but not as painful as listening to Chris Collinsworth. And I can't wait for the mute button, so I don't just have to. I'd like to be able to hear the crowd noise and the atmosphere and all that stuff without having to hear him. And what makes it even worse is that I want to listen to Mike Tirico.
I know, he's good.
He's as good as they come. He is we talk about generational talents in football and in athletics. He's a generational talent in the booth. He is such a good listen. And then all of a sudden, and I'll take you to when Herbert was, sacked or trying to be sacked at the 3-yard line, and he just kind of, let's go with the ball. Collinsworth said, this could be one of the biggest plays of the game. No, it was an incomplete pass.
All right, this is an overreaction. I mean, Romo is not as good as he used to be, and he is annoying, but he's not the worst.
Who is?
I think Kirk Herbstreit sucks at the NFL on Amazon. I think he's an awful listen, and he's boring, and there's no energy. At least Romo brings energy. And do you guys remember Jonathan Vilma this year?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Vilma was, yeah. But it's on the flip side, though, Herbstreit doing a college game,
very good.
Completely different.
Right.
Which I don't get.
They tried. You mentioned Justin Herbert, so I want to move on to that. Justin Herbert is not a top 10 quarterback. And I loathe to make this all about wins, QB wins. Those are team accomplishments. But look at how Herbert has played in his playoff career. No touchdowns yesterday. 159 yards passing. Team scored 3 points. Maybe it's just one game. His previous playoff game, he threw 4 interceptions. And the one prior to that, he saw his team blow a 27-point lead where he only threw 1 touchdown. He has 2 passing touchdowns in 3 career postseason games. Uber talented, not a top 10 quarterback.
I think it's a bit of an overreaction. And I say that because there's a lot of things that go into making you a top talent. And yesterday, no touchdowns, but also no interceptions. I know he had the 5 last year, but he was sacked 6 times. He was constantly harassed. And we've talked about the injuries, and I know that they've had that issue. Didn't think maybe he would be sacked 6 times, but this is a quarterback that has played with broken bones. He has done everything he possibly can to give his team a chance to win. I think he's been let down by the offense. He's been let down by injuries. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback.
This is not an overreaction, and the only time he was ever a top 10 quarterback was when it was based on potential when he was younger in his career. His playoff record's awful. This year he was 16th in QB rating, 13th in QBR. Pick whichever one you like. that's not in the top 10 is 0 playoff wins. I mean, enough with the potential. I think Dak Prescott is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. I just do.
Well, yeah, it backs it up with all his playoff wins.
He's got 2 more than he does.
Grit. The San Francisco 49ers are the gritty team the Lions have claimed to be, that the Lions used to be. San Francisco this season missed their starting quarterback for 8 games. They went into Philadelphia, playoff game on the road, defending champs, without Fred Warner, without Nick Bosa, without Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, and they lost Kittle in the game. They also didn't have their first-round pick, a defensive end out of Georgia, Mykel Williams. John, a depleted team that finds a way to win games, that wins road playoff games, that is the definition of grit, not what we watched in Detroit.
Not what we watched in Detroit this year.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is the grit that the Lions used to play with. And we saw it, I think, really one game this year where it was the Tampa game. Hey, the no-name defense.
Next man up.
And the next man up mentality. The Niners have taken that next man up mentality to a completely different level by winning the playoff game. They were competing for the 1 overall seed going into the last week of the season.
So it's why injuries aren't a valid excuse for Lions fans. Watch what San Francisco just did and is doing.
I'm not sure what to do with this one because I think they're 2 different types of grit. I think for the large part, the Lions branded themselves on grit, and that's the campaign that Campbell is selling. But the Lions don't win when they have injuries. The 49ers do, but so were the Lions ever gritty in that way?
Well, they were last year getting 15 wins.
Or how about as an underdog working their way to an NFC title game, right?
Yeah.
That's also gritty in 23.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
like
not
I said,
that's part of it. I think you establish grit with the offensive line, so this will go hand in hand. Beef up the offensive line, run the football. Grit comes back, but that is a huge change. They just aren't that football team right now.
Let's just say this: they have a better head coach, and they have a head coach that went and got an experienced DC.
Also true. There's layers to this. Do me. For the second year in a row, the Tigers will regret not signing Alex Bregman. Oh, you knew it was going to come up at some point today. Proven right-handed contact bat that walks and delivers in the postseason. The Tigers don't have anybody playing third base. A.J. Hinch can say McKinstry was an all-star. You want to know why he was an all-star? Because Bregman didn't play in the all-star game. Bregman last year missing 50 games would have been the best bat on the Tigers. His WAR was higher than Dingler, than Green, than Karp, than all of them. And this team refused to engage in a contract negotiation this offseason. If it's a money thing, you're reinforcing a stereotype. If it's a baseball thing, it's baseball negligence. They will regret this again the way they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing the same thing they did last year. They lost out on Bregman last year, and they just needed a contact bat. I don't care if he played third base. I don't care if he played anywhere. Just had to, other than catcher, we had a contact back playing catcher, but we didn't have it anywhere else. Yeah, they're going to regret not going after Bregman, especially if they don't go after anyone to improve the lineup.
You know what? I think this is an overreaction. 5 and 175 with no opt-out at any point. I think this contract's going to age horribly. And you said, yes, his OPS would have been the best on this team last year. Green had an 806. Bregman had 836. I don't know if I'm paying this kind of money and being locked down by that contract for 836 OPS. It's not going to age well. And look, he only has 104 home runs in the 5 seasons since COVID. I mean, that's not spectacular. I think this is a gross overpay, and I'm kind of glad the Tigers didn't do it.
Those are your overreactions. 97.1. us to transcribe everything we see. Yeah.
Transcribe everything we say, or like
6A to 6P. Not that we would do it, but like
so that they can go back through and like double check.
So we shot that down.
Hey, stop waiting for a breakdown in the cold. Take a time out and call Mastercraft Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. They'll do a complete furnace checkup to make sure everything's running properly and safely. Right now, it's only $79 per unit. That's $30 off the regular price, so give them a call today because spots are going to fill up quickly, especially as it gets cold. Don't forget, Mastercraft does plumbing, electrical, and installs generators as well, all at discounted prices, so give them a call now. More information is available on the web at mastercraftheating.com. That's mastercraftheating.com.
Guys, this hour is the hour we give away tickets to tonight's Red Wings game. We've got a pair of tickets for the Sergei Fedorov night and the matchup against the Carolina Hurricanes. What you're going to do, you're going to listen this hour. Listen very closely. Because at some point, we're going to play a Sergei Fedorov goal. When you hear it, you call in, you win a pair of tickets for tonight's game against the Carolina Hurricanes. For tickets and event info, nhl.com/Red Wings. Let's get to the phones. Let's get to Mike in Washington. Mike, good morning.
What's going on, Costa? What's going on, John?
How you doing?
What's up?
Man, doing all right. Happy holidays. Hope y'all had a great time with your families.
Thanks, you too.
One takeaway from the Super Wildcard weekend, and we're not even done with it yet. Man, these teams got speed on defense, man. The Lions, I feel like, have no speed on defense. No speed at linebacker, no speed on the edge of the line. I feel like even with the worst game, let's just go to the worst game last night, Chargers and Patriots. Neither QB really had a bunch of time. I mean, oh my goodness. I felt like the speed on that defensive line and the blitzing linebackers, dude, what in the world are we doing? Why do it look like the Lions are playing half that speed?
Teams are flying to the football this weekend. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you go the next level up, and obviously the playoffs is the next level up, the teams are going to be playing with a completely different speed. They're getting after the quarterback. The impacts are greater down the field. Receivers catch the ball, and they're being hit with violence. The violence goes to another level at the playoffs. It's awesome as a player and as a fan.
Look, they need more burst. Detroit, I mean, Jack Campbell had a hell of a season, but Jack Campbell's 1 of 11 on defense. You know what I'm saying? Even if you like Aiden Hutchinson, who's a second-team All-Pro, it's only 2 of 11 on defense. Both safeties got injured. That's going to potentially linger into next year, and that could take a gear out of their game. They need more help on defense. There's no doubt about it. I know we focus on the offensive line first and foremost, but, John, they're going to need to upgrade this defense. Have to.
They're going to have to. And
it can't be Onwuzurike and Pascal and Davenport.
No. It's going to have to be an upgrade on the defensive line, and it's going to have to be an upgrade in the secondary.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
We brought up Bregman at the end of the Overreaction. We got a couple texts on that. It says, Overreaction, Colt Keith will have better numbers than Bregman this year. And another one says, guys, why would you expect the Tigers to overpay for Bregman a year after he spent the offseason using the Tigers to maximize his value? By the way, he got his 210 over 6 years.
Yep. I mean, you knew it was going to be close to it.
Boris does his thing, man.
Yeah.
And look, there were reports last year he countered. Tigers declined. Tigers sorely missed a big postseason bat. He would have been an upgrade on this team.
It wasn't just the postseason. They missed the bat after the All-Star break.
Yeah, well, speaking of after the All-Star break, so the guy brought up Colt Keith, who I'm not going to write off for his career. He's far too young of a baseball player to do that. But Colt Keith last year faded down the stretch. Zach McKinstry faded down the stretch. Matt Vierling didn't play down the stretch, but the year prior didn't do anything in the postseason. The other name you're going to see at third base is potentially Max Anderson, a rookie, or Kevin McGonigal, a rookie. I don't understand the wisdom in third base by committee, especially when these guys haven't shown it. And this team isn't a plucky, will they get in the playoffs team? They've made it the last 2 years. They've advanced the last 2 seasons. Start acting like it.
Well, and they can still make moves. All right, so I'm going to kind of
Fine.
I'm going to be a little patient, not as patient as I was last year, as names continue to go off the board. But they can make trades, they can do things, and it's frustrating because at the end of the year, we thought in the postseason press conference between Scott Harris and AJ Hinch that they weren't just going to run it back. Like, they actually said the words, "We can't be foolish enough to just think we can run it back."
The word was naive. But yeah, I thought they spent an hour and it was kind of hat in hands. Like, hey, this wasn't good. As much as the organization has progressed, Scott Harris specifically said, we've earned the negativity around this baseball team. And then your manager says we can't be naive enough to run it back. And the only moves they've made thus far, and I'll emphasize thus far, is to retain their own and bring in a closer, a reliever, and Kenley Jansen. That's all they've done.
Yeah.
There have been no external ads outside of depth pitching.
No, they are just going to run it back.
Yeah. 248-539-9797. Listen for your chance to win the Fedorov tickets. We're going to get into the NFL playoffs a little deeper at 7:35. Aiden Hutchinson gave his thoughts on the one thing that needs to be better for the Lions next season. He was on Sunday NFL Countdown. Mm-hmm. And we want to know if you agree with Hutch. The one thing the Lions need to do better for next year. We'll get to that this hour. It's 97.1. Well, actually, let's get to Heather with the news. Sorry, guys.
Wow. Just trying to cut her out.
This better be a good
right
news.
there.
No.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. 2 Michiganders are headed to the Olympics after making history on Saturday with their record-setting 7th U.S. figure skating title. So Madison Chalk and Evan Bates, they're a husband and wife duo, trained in Novi in Canton before moving to Montreal. They're now the heavy favorites to win gold at next month in Italy. This is pretty cool. So Chalk grew up in Ann Arbor, Bates in Novi. They've skated together for 14 years. They got married in 2024. Bates went to Michigan, big fan of the Wolverines. Yes, and he is going to his 5th Olympic Games, making him the first U.S. skater to ever do that. So very cool. Congrats to them. Exciting times.
It's a reminder, Olympics sneaking up on us right around the corner.
Not sneaking up on me. I can't wait.
I'm excited too. I do love the Olympics. The 911 call that Sharon Moore's wife, Kelly, made last month after he was caught having that relationship with a staff member has now been released. So in the emotional call, which came the same day he was fired, Kelly expressed concern for her husband's safety and said that she was worried Sharon would hurt himself. Their baby crying in the background. My gosh.
5-month-old baby.
Oh my goodness.
And 2 other daughters.
Yeah. It's tough to listen to.
Yeah, it is.
Sterling Heights police are investigating after 5 people were injured in a shooting that took place at a house party early Saturday morning. So the reports of shots fired came in right around 1:20 a.m. And when police arrived at the scene, they found 4 people with gunshot wounds. And they say a 5th victim had already taken herself to the hospital. It sounds like 2 people at the party started arguing. They pulled out guns and started firing at each other. So not only were those 2 people hit, 3 other bystanders were also hit with gunfire. 2 suspects are in police custody at a local hospital, and police say that there is no ongoing threat to the public. Well, it's the end of an era in Detroit. After more than a century, one of the city's oldest privately held businesses and a Detroit fashion icon, Dietrich Furs, is officially closing its doors. So the business, which is now in its 5th generation of family retail, announced that, hey, they're going to retire. They're going to focus on health and the well-being of their family. But really is an icon, whether you've ever shopped there or not.
Jingles.
Yes.
And commercials.
Do we have it?
Of course we do. And what I love is that they never updated it. And they
Yeah.
kept that commercial forever.
I
Very
wonder
iconic.
what the first run of that commercial was. I mean, I have no idea. I know that I saw it as a kid.
Me too.
As a young kid. So it's been going for at least 40 plus years.
I love it. Yep. The Golden Globes were on last night, if you missed it. And the movie One Battle After Another and the miniseries Adolescence took home the most golden trophies. One Battle had the most nominations, 9, and it led with 4 wins, including Best Musical or Comedy, which it really is neither. I mean, I've seen it. It's a great movie. And then Best Director as well for Paul Thomas Anderson. And then following behind in the film category was Sinners, Hamnet, K-pop Demon Hunters, and The Secret Agent. They all tied with 2 wins each. Adolescence led the night in television with 4 wins. And then The Pit and The Studio followed right behind with 2 wins each. There was also an award for the best podcast. This was the first time they've ever done this award, and that went to Amy Poehler. Not the podcast, John. Not the podcast. But to her podcast, Good Hang with Amy Poehler. So, yeah.
I'd like to know if hers got as much run as mine did.
Yeah, did it make the Golden
It didn't make
Bachelor?
the Golden Bachelor. Yeah, it probably didn't make any of the Bachelors.
I don't think so.
John, how many of the shows and movies have you seen that she mentioned?
0. And most of them I didn't even know.
I've
I
definitely
haven't
seen,
even heard of them.
Well, I saw The Pit. I haven't seen The Studio. That's on my list. I'll watch that. I saw the One
Secret
Battle
Agent, is
After
that
Another.
at least like a action
I don't know that
adventure thriller?
I don't know. I don't know.
Sounds like it should be.
You would think.
Yeah. Was that news good enough for you?
What do you mean?
Was the news good
that
enough?
I nearly skipped over?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
almost
was
missed
it
it.
worth sticking around for?
I think it was.
Well,
May have made a
thanks.
mistake.
Thank you.
But as I was saying, we have a lot of things to get to today. That is Heather with the news. We'll talk NFL playoffs, the wild card weekend, thrilling matchups. And Aiden Hutchinson was asked, what's the one thing you guys need to do better for next year? Do you guys agree with what he said? It's 97.1. Wildcard weekend extends tonight, but what a start it has been to the NFL playoffs. No Lions, bummer. But if you were checked out because the Lions weren't playing, you missed a hell of a weekend. John?
Yeah.
All these games.
It was a lot of fun, if you're just a football fan, to watch them all come down to the final minute.
What was your biggest takeaway? I did the overreactions earlier in the hour, but just as you watched these games, was there something that stood out most?
Well, I mean, the biggest takeaway is the same one that we had going into it, that we thought it would be. It's a wide open field. And now we haven't seen, obviously, Denver or Seattle play. All right? They may come in and just blow the socks off of everyone, and the Super Bowl is going to be Seattle Seahawks versus the Denver Broncos. I don't know. But at least getting to the NFC or AFC championship game, it is a completely wide open field. Seeding doesn't matter in this one.
Like, think about it. The Rams were one of the co-favorites. Struggled as double-digit favorites against the Panthers, who had a losing record.
Yes.
Look, they may win the Super Bowl, but it certainly doesn't make you feel like they're untouchable. The Bears were another big winner. They're down 18 points at the half, and it was a vintage Bears game, right?
Yeah.
Still find a way to miraculously win, but again, it feels like skin of their teeth. They don't feel like some juggernaut. So start looking around, and who does? Well, I got Josh Allen, right? Even he needed a last-second heroic drive in the first playoff game, in the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't feel like the Bills are this untouchable juggernaut either.
No, it doesn't. But I'll go back to our conversation with Ross Tucker last week when he said he picked actually the Jags, and I'm gonna love talking to him. Your team that you picked out, and I'm sure you, on all your multitude of podcasts.
And all the stations he appears on, yep.
That, hey, they're out in the first round. But I think the Jags are one of those teams that won their last 8 games of the year. I don't know that we necessarily really bought into as good as they were, and the way Trevor Lawrence and Cohen and all of everything that they had going on there. So it may prove that was the Bills' toughest game of the postseason. I don't know.
Could be.
But the thing is, it's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, keep going through the list. The Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champs, and they're out. San Francisco advances, but they lost Kittle. Achilles injury, and it feels like they're on fumes. And again, all the credit in the world to Shanahan. Certainly takes excuses off the table for the Lions when you watch what San Francisco's doing, but it doesn't feel like they're built to make some deep run either. I guess maybe you could say the Patriots were the most convincing win of the weekend.
Yeah, but that was only 16-3, and it wasn't like they were an offensive juggernaut. At times, we saw, like at the end of the first half, when you're watching Drake May run for 36 yards, you're like, oh, okay, this. If they come out in the second half, and they could be really dangerous. They scored 10 points in the second half.
Right. So I think, that's one of the big takeaways is this is as open as ever. So for people who were wondering, like, Lions aren't in, I'm not really invested. There's no Mahomes. There's no Brady. There's no Manning. First time since 1999. So we are truly living in a different world where anybody can win the Super Bowl. And it's led to really close, dramatic finishes. 4 of the 5 games this weekend, the winning score was scored inside of 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I somewhat anticipate maybe that's going to be the path tonight between the Texans and the Steelers. Sure, I don't think anybody's sitting there going, these are 2 Super Bowl teams.
Nope.
But they're in the postseason.
248-539-9797. We want to hear from you guys, your big takeaways from Wild Card Weekend.
Do we have an update on our snake draft?
Oh, yeah.
After week 1? Well, I guess it's not completely after week 1.
Done. We can.
But I will say that, hey, come Friday, there'll be somebody new at the bottom of the standings when we do picks.
Awesome. Thanks for reminding me.
I am no longer in last place. Woohoo! Who is?
Heather Park.
Yeah.
Oh.
From first to worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just like the Lions this year.
Oh.
She's got to get that grit back, that identity, that toughness.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, I watch what San Francisco's doing, and I admire the fact that they found a way. You can say last place schedule, but last place schedule has nothing to do with going into Philadelphia and beating the Eagles. That's been a tough place to play all season and in the postseason historically.
Well, and we talk about the injuries currently.
Yeah.
But throughout the course of the season, Brock Purdy missed, 5 weeks?
It was 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
He only played 9 games.
And they were in contention. And we've always said this. When your starting quarterback goes down, it doesn't matter who you are. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently it does matter who you are because Brock Purdy was out for 8 weeks. Mac Jones comes in, and they were still in contention in the final week of the season for the number 1 overall seed.
How did Saturday night have you feeling? Bears and Packers.
I mean, like I wanted, somebody put it, I think, extremely well for the Rams and Bears game. You know, the meteor is on its way. I was laughing very hard throughout the course of the first half because of all of the things that the Bears were doing to prevent a win. And then I changed to laughing in the second half because the Green Bay Packers were doing everything they possibly could to not win that game. Ultimately, the Bears won. I don't really have deep feelings about that game.
No, and let me be clear. We weren't even in. So none of this is me as a Lions fan trying to claim superiority or feel better. The Lions failed. Period. End of story. Both teams that played on Saturday night had better seasons than the Lions. So this is not what it's about. But for the first half, I'm watching going, see these fraudulent Chicago Bears living on turnovers all year. They're finally going to get theirs. They're not that good. They're pretenders. And I get to kind of feel good about that. But that would have meant the Packers won. So to see the Packers collapse in epic fashion and LaFleur fall flat on his face yet again, I'm certainly not upset about that.
Yeah, and the entire drama that happened after it in regards to the handshake. I didn't have any issue with how Ben Johnson handled himself or Matt LaFleur. I think that was blown out of proportion. And the fact that, Ben Johnson in the post game said, F the Packers. Like, okay, so have we. I mean, most Detroit fans wake up in the morning and say, F the Packers. We may include the Bears in that as well.
Sure.
So I don't really care that he had that to say as either.
Yeah, the pearl clutching is weird because Amon-Ra St. Brown is all about F the Packers and we don't like them and F the Packers. And Ben Johnson in a post-game fired-up locker room is going to let it fly. I don't know what's so classless or he shouldn't have done that. Guys, if he did that wearing a Honolulu blue hat, we'd be eating it up today. Bottoms up with the pitcher, right? I mean, we love this stuff. I mean, we're quick to say F the Bears.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's not that serious.
I kind of hope that LaFleur isn't fired as the Green Bay coach simply because I want to see that rivalry between those two coaches. Because we heard, I know that Ben Johnson had a lot of things to say, took some shots at Jared Goff, took some shots at the Lions, in his, way out the door and new head coach with the Bears. But I think the best one was about Matt LaFleur. And we beat the Packers twice every year.
And he officially beat them twice this year. All right. Coming up next, we have Aiden Hutchinson sound. He was on ESPN Sunday NFL Countdown. He was asked about the one thing that this team needs to improve on for next season. Do you agree with his answer? It's next, 97.1.
Hey, we all know that Planet Fitness is a great place to work out. If you haven't stopped in, you should. It's a friendly environment. It's a clean environment. They've got something for everyone. It doesn't matter your fitness level or your experience. You could be a newbie. You could be an experienced fitness enthusiast. They've got something for everyone. They've extended their sale. It's $1 down and $15 a month gets you in the door for their base membership. And it's $24.99 for the Black Card membership. The Black Card membership gets you access to everything that Planet Fitness has to offer, including the Black Card, the spa, as well as 2,800 clubs nationwide. So if you travel, it's perfect because generally there's going to be a Planet Fitness near you. There's over 50 here in Detroit, 15 in Grand Rapids or West Michigan, 7 in Toledo. So you got somewhere to work out everywhere you go. And it's an easy thing to do. Plus, I mentioned it already, it's a clean environment. They're welcoming. You can find your nearest club and join today in club, online, or on the free Planet Fitness app. We're all strong on this planet. Planet Fitness.
Tonight's his night. 91 goes up to the rafters. It's also a big hockey game. First place in the Atlantic, first place in the Metropolitan. Carolina Hurricanes at Little Caesars Arena tonight. And a reminder, if you're going to the game, get there early. They want fans in the seats at 5:30 as they celebrate Sergei Fedorov, number 91. Finally, about damn time goes up in the rafters.
Yeah, it's going to be an awesome night. And this wasn't part of your package, but are you going to find a way to go?
No.
Not even going to use the media credential?
I guess I could, weasel my way in or squirm
Well, it's
my
not weaseling your way in. You're just doing your job.
Absolutely, I could go. Yes. Yeah. Look, this has just been a really fun year from a vibes standpoint, right? You put Hockey Town back at the center. It's a 100-year celebration. The Centennial jerseys look phenomenal. They're actually winning hockey games. They're retiring 91. All of the things that would make you feel warm and fuzzy are happening right now. And again, they had a big win over the weekend. They beat Montreal 4-0. And I don't think anything's more symbolic of where they were for game one to where they are today than the play of John Gibson. He got chased in his very first Red Wings start in game one of the season. Now he goes on the road and pitches a shutout. And he's been great. His last, since December 1st, 12-2, .930 save percentage. It's unbelievable what he's done. He and the defense in front of him have improved, and now the Red Wings are playing much better hockey. So everybody's feeling good. Tonight should be a fun night at Little Caesars Arena. All right, John, yesterday, NFL playoffs are going on. Aiden Hutchinson was doing a media hit. He was on ESPN for their Sunday NFL Countdown. And he was asked about the one thing the Lions need to improve on for next season. We're going to play that for you. And we want to know if you agree with him. Let's play it, Greg. Can we play Aiden Hutchinson? Get healthy.
Sure, that will help.
Is that the number one thing this team needs to do for next season? Get healthy.
No, they need to play better. And it's execution on the field because, yes, the secondary was beat up. There's no question about that. And so if we're just sitting here talking about teams that are putting 400 yards through the air on the defense, that would be, I think, the number one reason why that would happen. But that's not the case. That's not what Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers did. It's not what Minnesota did. Minnesota, how many passing yards did Minnesota have?
3.
3. No. And where were there not injuries?
Front 7.
The front 7. Mm-hmm. Plus, we had a Pro Bowl All-Pro linebacker, and we had a second-team All-Pro edge defender. Yet those two guys can't do it all. And so the front 7 was healthy, yet they couldn't stop the run when they needed to against the better teams. So, no, it's not just, and I said this earlier, if last year you can't sit there and say injuries were the reason you lost to Washington. I don't care. You should have been able to beat Washington. Now, if you lost to Philly in the NFC Championship game, it goes from a reason, from an excuse to a reason, because of the way Philly was built last year and the way that they were playing. With those type of injuries, I don't think you were going to be competitive against the Philadelphia Eagles. But against Washington, it was simply an excuse. You should have beaten Washington.
Yeah, when Aiden says injuries are the number one thing we got to fix for next season, it's a cop-out. I'm watching San Francisco overcome as many key injuries as anybody in football. An elite interior linebacker in Fred Warner. One of the best pass rushers in football in Nick Bosa. I mean, guys, they missed Kittle in the game, but didn't have Ayuk or Pearsall for that game. They missed half the year with their starting quarterback. Injuries are not a valid excuse for the Lions. They're not. If you're the gritty football team you say you are, if it's next man up, you do what the San Francisco 49ers just did. You go on the road and win a playoff game. For all the talk of, well, they're only here because they played a last play schedule. It helps. It'll help the Lions next year. But what they just did is go on the road and beat the defending champs in Philadelphia. That's gritty. That's next man up. That's not using injuries as a crutch or an excuse. So when Aiden says it, I think it's a cop-out. I think the problems are deeper than that. It's not just get healthy and the Lions are going to be right back in Super Bowl contention. They got to get that gritty identity back that we see with San Francisco.
Because we saw them last year be able to muster 15 wins in the regular season. And that was with the first place schedule.
Mm-hmm.
That was with an unbelievable number of injuries at every level on defense. And yet they were still able to make that happen. And then this year, where it's really only one position or one level of the defense, and it wasn't a level that was, it got exposed against other teams, but it wasn't the reason that they were losing.
Right. Detroit lost to the Minnesota Vikings twice. They lost to Brosmer. You want to talk about injuries? Minnesota would put their hand up in here and go, we didn't have our starting quarterback. Right? Pittsburgh would say we didn't have our offensive line intact and we still ran for 200 yards. Like, everybody's dealing with something. Everybody's got injuries. And for Detroit to miss the playoffs, injuries can't be the number one reason. That can't be the number one thing they improve on this offseason. If you want to be a gritty, tough football team, John, I think you would echo this. It starts on the offensive line. That's their biggest issue for the offseason. If they get tougher, meaner, better, start moving people in the run game, all of a sudden that grit's going to be there. Converting tough third and shorts and fourth and shorts and red zone spots. That's going to make them a better football team. They're going to be gritty. They're going to convert. They're going to win. Getting healthy. Cool. Let's put Brian Branch on this team. Let's put Kirby Joseph fully healthy back on this team. It doesn't change that their biggest issue is still on the offensive line. 248-539-9797. Do you agree with Aiden? Are injuries, are they a legitimate reason why the Lions aren't in the playoffs? Or is it an excuse? Let's get to the phones. Let's get to Nick in Flint. You're on 97.1.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Second-time caller, 15-year listener. My biggest takeaway for the weekend before you guys got to the Hutchinson deal is that Caleb Williams. I don't know if you guys have mentioned this. What a lively arm. That guy, in my opinion, is the future of the quarterbacks in the NFL. I was very impressed, and I'll let you guys talk.
The throw he made on 4th and 8, rolling to his left to Rome Odunze with the game on the line, is one of the great throws in NFL playoff history. Now, the only reason it's not higher is it's in the first round, but that's their season on the line. And he made some wild plays in that game, John. He's just scratching the surface. He's going to be a problem in this division for years to come.
He is. And one of the things, and we saw this throughout training camp, and we all thought, it was the videos coming out of training camp in regards to, well, he can't even hit the net or any of the targets that he's throwing to. But over the course of the year, over the course of time, working with Ben Johnson, and one of the things Ben Johnson was known for here was the attention to detail. Mm-hmm. It was all of the little things that made the difference, and maybe that's the issue this year is the attention to details. We talked about that with penalties and other things, but especially at the quarterback position. Now, Jared Goff was fine this year.
Yes.
He was actually really good.
I think so too.
But watching Caleb Williams grow with a quarterback coach that is zeroed in on everything that the quarterback has to do, I think he's going to be a problem in the division now that he's being coached as such.
Look, you could point to a lot of reasons the Lions weren't playing. You could say it was coaching. You could say it was the offensive line eroding. I don't think you can say injuries, not with what San Francisco's doing right now. 248-539-9797. By the way, John in Westland, congrats on the Red Wing tickets. It's 97.1.
Brought to you by Michigan Hair Restoration. Tonight, the Red Wings will retire the jersey of one of the most accomplished and storied players in franchise history. Sergei Fedorov's number 91 will join the 8 other retired numbers in the Little Caesars Arena rafters tonight. Back in November, Sergei was in town for the Red Wings Centennial Fan Fest, and here's what he had to say about receiving this honor. Tonight, Federer's retirement ceremony begins at 5:30 ahead of the Wings' 7 o'clock puck drop against the Carolina Hurricanes. The LCA doors will open at 4:20. The NFL wildcard round is almost complete as 5 of the 6 games took place over the weekend. Now the divisional round is basically set as the Broncos will face the Bills on Saturday in the AFC. In the NFC, the Seahawks will host the San Francisco 49ers. On Sunday, the Bears will host the Rams in the NFC, while the Patriots will face the winner of tonight's game between the Texans and Steelers. And breaking news in the head coaching pursuit of Mike McDaniel, Tom Pelissero tweeting this morning that McDaniel will interview this week for the Browns, Falcons, Titans, and Ravens head coaching job. He's also scheduled to interview for the Lions offensive coordinator job. At the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Brendan Shabath. For more, go to 97.1 The Ticket or visit Odyssey.com.
The question asked of Aiden Hutchinson, as you turn the page, one thing you put your finger on to be better at for next season, what is it? He said, got to be healthy. Do you agree with him? 248-539-9797, because I don't. I'm watching the San Francisco 49ers overcome key injuries, make the playoffs, last place schedule, whatever, but win a road playoff game against the defending champs. That's the definition of grit. That's what's missing in Detroit. That identity was lost this year. That's the biggest reason Detroit wasn't in the playoffs. And if they're going to be a contender next year, they're going to need to get that back. I think one of the best ways you get gritty is you have big uglies up front that win consistently. Reformatting and assessing and addressing the offensive line will help get the identity of this football team back. It will help make them a gritty, tough football team. Aiden said it's injuries. 248-539-9797. Do you buy that? Is that a valid reason or is that an excuse? I think it's a cop-out.
I think this year it is. And this year in regards to not making the playoffs. If it was just simply 1 or 2 games, they were able to overcome it against Tampa with a good rival. And I know Mike Evans went down later in the game, and they had some other issues going on as well. But going into that game, that was one of the hottest offenses in all of football.
Yep.
You found a way to overcome it. We didn't expect, if the entire secondary was going to be out, that they would be able to overcome it every single week. But it wasn't the big issue against the Eagles.
Right. Look, and I think San Francisco could be used as a source of optimism for Detroit. They had a bad year last year. And they made the changes. They came out swinging this season. They were much improved. All hope is not lost in Detroit, but they need to have that come to Jesus moment, that understanding of, hey, man, we lost our way. Here's some of the responses coming in. 248-539-9797. Injuries are an excuse, but the schedule is a reality. Our schedule was one of the hardest in NFL, and it takes an easy schedule to get in the playoffs and then get hot and make something happen. That's the story of San Francisco.
It was a tough schedule, but you lost twice to the Minnesota Vikings.
Guys, I think Hutch should have went on TV and said, yeah, our DC had no idea what he was doing, and we need more talent in the trenches.
Yeah, I don't think that was
sarcasm, but I don't think he's going to do that.
Real quick on that schedule thing. The Chiefs were under 500. The Ravens were under 500. The Bengals were under 500. And the Vikings had the same record, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it wasn't
schedule
hard.
wasn't too tough. They just weren't good enough.
The Eagles weren't the Eagles of the year before.
Right. 248-539-9797. Text says, what do you expect him to do? Throw his teammates under the bus while being interviewed on national TV? That's from Ron.
Well, so I always do go to that. Okay, what do we expect Hutch to say, on national TV? It could have said, we need to be able to stop the run better. Stop throwing. It's including yourself in that.
Yeah, I think some of the way to answer that would be just keeping it broad and saying, we lost our way, or I always put it on myself and look at what we didn't do on defense down the stretch, and that's my side of the ball, and we need to be better. Injuries make it sound like you didn't do anything wrong. You're just a victim of circumstance.
Yeah, and so for complete context as well, also he said, hey, in the biggest games, we didn't have all 3 phases working together. which I thought was a great answer.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes, special teams let you down. Sometimes it was the defense let you down. Sometimes it was the offense let you down. You do have to have against the better teams at least two of the three phases that are operating at a high level.
Yes. Let's get to the phones. Kevin, you're next up. You're on 97.1.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing today?
What's up?
I got a question. Why did San Francisco only win 6 games after they got to the NFC title game 2 years ago?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you guys say the injuries aren't a part of the game or no excuse. They are an excuse. It's a mentality thing. You only can overcome so much.
Well, so then it's a reason, not an excuse.
Well, yeah, that's a reason, right?
Why is San Francisco winning road playoff games this season with all the injuries?
I want to know what happened between San Francisco's Super Bowl run 2 years ago to a 6-win season last year. There's no difference in what we did this year, except we won 9 games after we got to the
Kevin, I'm not sure what point you're making. The low points only reinforce what I'm saying.
But all I'm trying to say is injuries are a big reason, and nobody wants to look at that.
No, how you handle injuries. Right? Injuries are going to happen to every team. The Lions didn't handle their injuries as well as San Francisco did this season. And last year, the Lions handled them better than San Francisco did. This isn't about keeping score. It's just calling it what it is.
Well, the point is, you lose. It depends on how the injuries occur. You lose both of your all-pro safeties through the year. You keep losing guys left and right.
Kevin, who had more significant?
It hurt us more this year than it did last year.
Who had more significant injuries this year, San Francisco or Detroit?
Detroit.
No, not at all.
Detroit. You can't keep stopping the run when you don't have a defensive backfield, especially your 2 all-pros.
Kevin, I don't know how you come to the conclusion that Detroit had it worse on the injury front. San Francisco lost their quarterback for half the season. They missed multiple all-pros on defense. Baffling. They had it worse, and they still won more games and a road playoff game.
I think one way to put it, imagine if the Lions lost Aiden Hutchinson and Jack Campbell.
Yeah. And still rattled off 11 wins and then went into Philadelphia and won.
And so, obviously, last year, they did lose Aiden Hutchinson and were able to rattle off 15 total wins.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But they didn't have that this year. They weren't able to overcome. Last year, they did a much better job overcoming injuries. It's how you handle injuries. Every team in the NFL is going to get battered and bruised and banged up. How do you handle injuries? San Francisco's proving that injuries aren't a valid reason to be sitting on the sideline right now. And it's like excuse making from Lions fans.
Yes. And that's why I say injuries can be a reason, but they can also be an excuse. The reason that they lost last year as the number 1 seed to Washington because they turned the ball over 5 times.
Yeah. Because
they couldn't stop Washington. Mm-hmm. If they had won that one and then lost to a much better team, eventual Super Bowl champs in Philly, then it would have been a reason. It was an excuse, then it was a reason. It can be both.
Sure. Yeah, I get the way you explained it. 248-539-9797. Let's get to Clint in Monroe. Clint, good morning. You're on 97.1.
Hey, what's happening, boys? Quick question. What do you think would be the best shakeup if we had to improve offensive line, D-line, or quarterback situation? I want to ask the question, and then we can kind of proceed. But where do you think we need the most improvement? What would you say?
I think we're going to say the same thing, John, but go ahead.
Yeah, offensive line.
Offensive line. Okay. So, offensive line, I know we've had some injuries. We've had Hutchinson back, which is great. But nobody seems to want to improve much of our quarterback situation. Goff is great. He's done great things. He's putting up some decent numbers. But if we got a running guy, I think we're in much better shape if we can get a running QB. What are your thoughts?
I don't think there are many ways to address the quarterback position and get an upgrade this offseason.
Yeah, Clint, let me ask you this. If that's the position that you want to address this offseason, outline how you want to do it.
Well, as much as the folks of Detroit, we like Goff. We like to see the team progress with him. I think we gotta shake things up a little bit. We got to try to bring somebody in. I don't know if the Caps would allow for that. I know we got him for the next couple of years. I'd like to see. I think the Lions would do much better if we had somebody else step in as QB.
Okay, but that doesn't answer the question. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, we'd have to release some guys and pull up some salaries to bring somebody else in. I don't even know who's free that week.
So your big free agents are going to be Malik Willis, Mac Jones. You could try to add Kyler Murray if that's your thing. all while having a $63.8 million dead cap hit to move on from Jared Goff. So again, what is the better way to approach this offseason? Downgrade at quarterback and eat $64 million in dead cap, or chase a center and a guard?
I hear you, brother. I know it's tough. It's too expensive. We just got to wait it out, lose the next couple of years, hopefully do well.
No, that's not, Clint. That's not the answer, is to just take it on the chin the next couple of years and lose a lot of football games. You've already seen Goff get you to the NFC title game. Beef up the offensive line, get back to work, and get back to making runs.
Yeah, Goff is a quarterback, and I know this is always the debate. Can you win a Super Bowl with him?
Yes.
I believe you can't. He hasn't won a Super Bowl, so it's going to always be that question until he does. He was there with the Rams. He was moments away. He was 30 minutes away from being there with the Lions, and should have been, and I believe would be, if a fourth down pass that was in the hands of the receiver was simply caught.
Let's get back to the phones. Bill in Macomb, you're on 97.1. Bill, what's up?
Good morning, gentlemen. Great show. Enjoy listening to you. Just want to make 2 points. I think the injuries did play a role, but I believe management didn't prepare that second-tier level of players to step in and be the leaders. So that's got to be addressed. O-line first has to be addressed. Point 2, Mike McDaniel, the former Dolphin coach who's interviewing for OC, I think he'd be a great pickup. But I think they have to write in the contract he cannot wear capris on the sideline during games and stand next to Dan Campbell.
They're very different people, are they not? I can't picture Dan Campbell in capris.
I can't picture Dan Campbell letting that guy stand next to him with capris.
But I think there is a
great show.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. And we brought this up a little bit at the end of last week. I think there is a natural fit there, right? Because in Miami, you could argue, boy, were they tough enough? Was the culture strong enough? Mike McDaniel wouldn't have to worry about building those things with Dan Campbell as his head coach. He's run great offenses both in Miami and San Francisco, and he'd have all kinds of weapons to rehabilitate his coaching profile. The only thing that would stop him from being here in Detroit, because we know Detroit's interested, John, would be if he got a head coaching job, which I know he's going to interview for some.
Sure. I don't know that Mike McDaniel gets a head coaching job this year. I don't think I think if you're looking at coaches that were head coaches and get fired, you're probably looking at Stefanski. He probably bounces back with a head coaching job. Certainly John Harbaugh. I don't know that there's a lot of other coaches that were fired that are going to instantly bounce back with a head job. Most of them will go back to being a coordinator on their position or their side of the ball.
So if he's going to be an OC somewhere,
why not here?
Should be here. All right, 248-539-9797. We got open lines. We got some calls to get to, some of your texts. Aiden Hutchinson asked for the number one thing for them to improve on for next season. He said the injuries on defense. Do you agree? It's 97.1. Guys, you want to start the new year out right. Life gets busy and it's easy to forget to go to the dentist. You've been putting off that appointment, but it doesn't have to be painful. Not with Brightside Dental. If you want to start the new year with a brighter smile, check out Brightside Dental. They're always welcoming new patients and get you in same day. 9 offices to choose from in Metro Detroit. Check out the $35 new patient special. Going to the dentist doesn't have to be a pain. 1-800-PAINLESS, BrightsideDental.com. That's Brightside Dental. No judgment, just care. Greg, if we could play Aiden audio again, let me just set it up. Mike Greenberg was talking to him on Sunday NFL Countdown, and he said, as you turn the page, what's the one thing you put your finger on that you guys need to be better at next season? Pointed to injuries and getting healthy. Is that a legitimate reason? Is that the number one thing? Do you agree with him, or is it an excuse? Some of the text coming in, then we'll go to the phones. 248-539-9797. Guys, Hutch was so quick to blame the refs against Pittsburgh and quick to blame injuries now instead of taking accountability for how bad his defense is. I can't take what he says seriously anymore. That's not what a captain does. Take the C away.
Oh, I'm not going to go that far.
No.
How much of this could just simply be the absence of Terrell Williams?
The D-line coach.
D-line coach last year. Now, I know he was obviously went to New England as the defensive coordinator. He hasn't been there for a large part of the season because of a cancer diagnosis. He's been back over the last last month. They said that on the broadcast last night. But, I mean, whether or not you are in on Calvin Shepard, like, I think you have to look at all of the assistant coaches as well. And if you have a position that is underperforming, you got to take a look at that.
Guys, it's so frustrating to hear we need to get healthy. No team is ever healthy. When injured players come back, other players will get injured. It's always a pipe dream to be fully healthy at the end of the season. Damn, some injuries. What happened to the lack of usage for David Montgomery? Seemed like we were successful the last 2 years when he had more of a split role. That's a bigger reason. Why did the Lions go away from what was a big success? That's Tony in the car.
Well, because they were handing the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. Well, some of this, too, is the offensive line was generating more running lanes. So, of course, a guy like David Montgomery is going to benefit from that. And when you can't get that initial push, Montgomery doesn't have the juice that Gibbs does, so you're really fighting for 3 yards at a time. That's not an efficient or explosive offense.
No, and so one of the injuries that I think was very impactful offensively in a number of different ways was Sam Laporta. And Sam Laporta in the pass game as that really nice outlet for Jared Goff.
Yep.
It didn't hurt Jared Goff. It did hurt the offense. And I think it I think it more affected them in the run game because Sam Laporta is an efficient guy that can help set the edge.
Yes.
He's good at getting cutoffs. They use him in motions quite a bit to be able to get an angle, and then he goes into the line of scrimmage to block. Like, I think that was a huge part. But then you look at the interior three, and Tate Ratledge, for the most part of the year in the run game, I thought was good enough.
Yeah.
But it was the center and left guard position that really struggled. And when you have that type of hole in your offensive line in the run game, yeah, you're not going to be running the ball for 150 yards a game.
Some more texts. San Francisco had a last place schedule. The Lions didn't. That's the difference. Brandon. Yeah, but here's the difference. They just beat Philadelphia on the road in the playoffs. That has nothing to do with the last place schedule. It has everything to do with finding a way to overcome their injuries. No Warner, no Bosa, no Kittle, no Ayuk, no Pearsall. Half the year without Purdy. And I'm missing a couple other smaller injuries.
Yeah.
Their linebacker level was decimated, and they went on the road and didn't beat a last place football team. They beat the reigning champs at their house. So I think the last place schedule argument has to be thrown out the window. What they're doing with their injuries makes injuries an excuse. This text says, shut up, Costa. Stop glazing San Francisco. If you like San Francisco so much, move there and do radio there. It's just calling balls and strikes, guys. If you're not going to
put the house on the market,
if you're not going to say nice things about the Lions, go somewhere else. Let's get to the phones. 248-539-9797. Don't say nice things about other teams. Don't be mean to our team. John and Canton, you're on 97.1.
Yeah, no, I think the problem is personnel. They're hanging on to too much baggage. They need to clean house and rebuild because, look at our offensive line. I think we got maybe 3 guys that are starters. Last game of the year, we played better without O'Neal. They need a total rebuild. And unless Brad Holmes does something, we're going to be stuck in last place again because the other teams are, not waiting for us.
I don't think they need a total rebuild. No. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's a good player. I think Aleem McNeil, another year removed from his injury, is going to get back closer to where he was before he was hurt. Now you got to find a way. What are you doing with DJ Reader? I don't think anybody wants him back. Josh Pascal, I don't think anybody wants him back. Levi Onwuzurike, I don't think anybody wants him back. Roy Lopez would like to have back, but he may have priced himself out of being a Detroit Lion.
There's no total rebuild. Detroit has all pros at key positions. They just came out with the all-pro team over the weekend. When the green dot linebacker's an all-pro, and you have an all-pro at a pass rush spot, those are critical building blocks. On offense, Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown are all pros, locked up and solidified. Those are key building blocks. Your quarterback, Jared Goff, is top 10. We got a top 10 quarterback in the sport. And a running back who was snubbed of all-pro, right, didn't finish the year strong, so I get it, but is clearly one of the more dynamic running backs in football. There are building blocks here. They're clearly not good enough, but they don't have to tear it all the way to the studs at this point. This isn't like when they took over.
No, this should be a bump in the road, not a rebuild.
If they attack the offseason properly, you're right. They're right back in the mix next year.
Yeah, and they're just going to have a shift in philosophy. It can't just be draft, develop, and sign. It needs to be, in free agency and trades, pro player acquisition. How are you going to go out there and improve the offensive line with somebody who's proven, that has some experience? Are you going to be able to do that on the defensive front as well? Defensive tackle is going to be an issue. I mentioned Roy Lopez already. DJ Reader is probably going to be gone. So how are you going to go out there and solidify those positions that are critical in the trenches on both sides of the ball without just going to the draft and saying, well, we're going to put it on this rookie?
Right. Because, again, I think to an extent that's what they did this year. Ratledge could turn into a hell of a player. Tyleik Williams, I'm not going to write a guy off after his rookie season, especially playing in that position. But they needed more from rookies than they should have. They were asking a lot out of guys who had never played NFL football because the roster was deficient in the trenches.
Yeah.
Let's get to Nolan in Rochester. Nolan, you're next up. You're on 97.1.
Hey, guys. I would agree that there's many different aspects that this team needs to focus on in order to improve, and I think the biggest thing is living outside of the draft. Attack free agency, the trades, and all that. I think the biggest thing, too, is inconsistency with play calling. Me, personally, I think last year, if run game or pass game wasn't going, they found ways to combat that, and I think this year is where they really lacked. But as far as Hutchinson's answer, I think it was like the safest answer he probably could have had. Because if he would have said straight up the O-line didn't perform, the run game wasn't there, coordinating wasn't there, then it just the media is going to attack him, and that just starts locker room problems. I think straight up saying either himself or health concerns with the defense is basically what he was prepared to answer if he were to be asked that. And anything else would have just
Look. I'll meet you in the middle on this. He's on national TV. He did go with the safe political answer. But fans don't have to agree with it. Like, that's why we've been asking you guys, do you agree with it? And I think fans can speak openly and say, no, injuries weren't our number one issue.
Yeah, and another point, too, like, on the San Francisco part, I'm totally with you because they've been riddled with injuries, and somehow, some way, they just keep overcoming them. And that's exactly what the Lions couldn't do this year. And obviously, like you said, there's other problems that arose throughout the season, whether it was coordinating or run game, O-line, all that stuff. But even with that, like, San Francisco's been over to overpower it and then going to Philadelphia and take that away from them. So.
Thanks, Nolan. Appreciate the phone call.
When you're making this direct comparison, you're taking his comments and then you see San Francisco do what he did yesterday. I don't know how you can dismiss that the number one reason is the coordinator, defensive.
They got what Robert Saleh's doing? Yeah.
Yes. They got experience, big-time experience. The Lions didn't. Yep. Take that and, toss it around your brain as much as you want. And
because okay, put it this way.
I'm going to look this up here quick because I want to make sure when Saleh got the job here, okay, in San Francisco. If it was impossible for them to get him, then it lets him off the hook.
He had a relationship with Shanahan. He had been the DC prior to failing as the Jets head coach.
Yeah.
So, of course, if the question was, should Detroit have hired Robert Saleh or should he have gone to San Francisco, he was going to go to San Francisco.
Well,
right? I mean,
I'm patting my wallet right now.
I know.
Right? You know what? You got a guy that's never done it, and they got a guy that's done it successfully.
Well, but there were also other guys that had done it before, like a Dennis Allen, who happens to be in Chicago. And what happened in Chicago? They were turnover maniacs.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, though, Gov, because, sure, Detroit, no one's going to dispute Detroit had some injuries on defense, and everybody's pointed out both safeties. Would Robert Saleh or an experienced defensive coordinator have still put this team in position to win a couple more games?
Because I just think that everybody's... Again, the run defense and how it was awful the second half of the season. I don't know. Your safeties are making that big of an impact on the run D.
Schematically, that does raise some red flags. The leading tacklers shouldn't be your safeties.
No. So let me say, he was hired January 24th of last year. I think the Lions lost on the 16th or 17th of January.
Yeah.
So the window was there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And then maybe it's not Saleh more so than an experienced guy.
And I think that's a good point. And that's why I brought up, hey, it's nothing against Kelvin Shepard, nothing personal. It's an experienced defensive coordinator takes pressure off of Dan Campbell and maybe helps you weather some of these injuries better than a first-time play caller, a first-time DC. It's 97-1. The question was, as you turn the page, what's the one thing you put your finger on to be better at? Aiden Hutchinson, get healthy on defense. Do you agree with him? That's the number one thing, 248-539-9797. Because I think the Niners would like a word. No Warner, no Bosa. Key injuries on both sides. Quarterback missed half the season, and they just went on the road and won in Philadelphia. Injuries are not a reason, not the number one thing, certainly, that the Lions need to improve on. Some of the texts, so sick of brain-dead Lions fans who get sensitive when anyone's critical of their team or deficiencies. They weren't good enough in all three phases. Injuries aren't an excuse. Chris and Monroe, what's wrong with the Lions is they're the mirror image of their fans. It's never the team. It's always the injuries, refs, or the schedule. Man up and have accountability. This year they weren't good enough.
I do think behind closed doors, Hutch can say whatever he wants. And I understand, like, it's hard to answer that question because you don't want to throw any of your teammates under the bus, and certainly your coaching staff as well. But behind closed doors, we heard it from Dan. We've heard it from Brad Holmes. There's going to be hard reflection. Look it in the mirror individually. Every player, every coach, Dan himself and the front office, you're going to have to do things differently. You're going to have to get back to doing things like you were in 23 and 24.
I think the reason why it irks me, the injury thing, because it just suggests, well, if we rest up and roll the same team out next year, we'll be a Super Bowl contender. That's not the case. They must address the trenches. They must become that tough, gritty football team that San Francisco currently is. People go, well, San Francisco was bad last year. Just like the Lions are this year. You need to get back to it. They couldn't handle their injuries last year. Lions couldn't handle their injuries this year. Everyone's going to get injured. You got to be able to handle it.
And it's just a part of, especially at a 17-game season, it's going to be part of the equation. Who are the best teams that manage that equation?
The current playoff teams are all mediocre at best. If the Lions had an O-line and got into the playoffs, they'd have good as chance as any. That's Matt Novi. I agree with that.
I agree with it. That your takeaway going into the playoffs was that this was a wide open field. There was no juggernaut this year.
Hiring two unproven coordinators in the middle of a Super Bowl window was the team's biggest mistake. Jason in a car.
Well, they were going to have to hire two new coordinators because the other two left. Yeah. And it just was, offensively, I think it was a bad hire. Defensively, I'm not ready to say that it was Calvin Shepard solely as to why this team underperformed defensively at the end of the year.
But I would say it's not solely John Morton's fault either. Both coordinators didn't have good trench play, and at the same time, both coordinators needed to be better, right?
Yes, but what we don't know is, one, offensively, change coordinators, and offense got more productive.
So why
defensively, there was no change in coordinator. And in fact,
why not do it, though?
After the Philly game, we were all looking at it going, boy, this defense is playing pretty good.
It's very short-lived.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a moment where we thought the defense could carry
the Giants
day.
game happened.
Yeah, no kidding.
So there's no sole reason. John, you're dead on about it's not just Kelvin Shepard's fault. But my point is that you're comparing to why San Francisco did this, and they've got a super experienced defensive coordinator. But even if you go back to last year, the injuries decimated the Lions, and Aaron Glenn somehow got them to 15-2. Right. Like, see, I mean, it isn't pretty when you start breaking it down. And look, I think a lot goes in. I think there's a few moments in the season where if Dan Campbell made the right decision, they would have been a playoff team.
Text says, Costa to San Francisco morning drive. Cats love the Bay. Let's get to the phones. Frederick, you're next up. You're kicking me out of the city. You're on 97.1.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I think looking at the games yesterday, every big play, it seemed like, was their tight end that made the catch. I think the loss of Laporta made a big, big difference to our team. Number two, offensive coordinator, we got to find one. But can you guys look up Dave Burkett's 60 Reasons yesterday in the Free Press? He had some really interesting things, and I saw every one of those. If you want to comment.
60 reasons?
60 reasons why. I think it was 60 reasons why they didn't have made the Super Bowl. It was a tongue-in-cheek
Oh, like
thing,
in their history?
In their history,
okay.
Yeah, and I've seen every one of them, yeah.
Okay.
It is an interesting article putting today's or yesterday's games in context.
Okay.
we're so much better than we were. So much better.
Oh, there's no doubt that this regime has elevated the franchise.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Well,
but
60 reasons, it looks like a lifetime work. And for a lot of us, it has been.
Only 60 reasons? 248-539-9797. Who's been waiting the longest? Mike in Dearborn, good morning. You're on 97.1.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Yeah, I feel like this year there's a lot of holes that need to be filled, more so than the last previous seasons. But you got to start up front on the O-line, because I feel like there's so many holes on defense that we got to be able to put ourselves in position to win a shootout. How do we acquire a center and possibly a tackle, with Decker leaving? If we do get a center, could we move Glasgow over to guard? But on the defensive side, I really feel like we need a game record at defensive tackle, especially with the way Hutch plays. He's always getting outside. He's getting, 8-9 yards, deep. The only way for him to really get his sack numbers is you got to get that push up the middle and flush that quarterback out.
See, and I think what's tough is Detroit paid a guy to play in the interior of the defensive line and just used a first-round pick on another's. It's one or both of those guys have to pan out.
Yeah, they have to pan out, but I just see Williams honestly being like a role guy moving forward. Yeah, is he going to get a little bit better? Sure. But he's not like a game changer. I mean, years ago when we drafted Sue, that defense instantly improved, and we started, I think, the season 6-2. If we have a game record up there, that could really push that line back, on defense, I think we're in great shape. But first and foremost, it's got to be the O-line. And how can we acquire, a center guard and tackle in one offseason and address all the other issues? It's mind-boggling to me.
Right, especially with currently not a lot of cap space. They'll restructure and create some, but it's going to go quick.
Well, and I think he makes a good point. Like you do have to have, especially if you're going to have one side of the ball that's underperforming, the defense, you have to have an overperforming offense. And that's really what they had the last couple of years, because they could pretty much do anything at will. If they needed to run the ball, or, hey, you get into overtime against the Rams and you get the ball, hey, you march right down the field, it's 8 runs at a time, and boom, you're in the end zone. You just say enough is enough. They didn't have that ability offensively this year. They were still a good offense. They were still one of the top 5 offenses. But you're going to have to be the top offense if your defense last year, no Aiden Hutchinson, no pass rush, and then this year you're going into it with, at the start of the season, you thought one of the best secondaries in the league, and you thought Aleem McNeil coming back was going to be a huge thing, and it was for a night. But moving forward, I do think Tyleik Williams and Aleem McNeil, with another year under his belt, removed from that injury, they could be a good defensive tandem inside along with Hutch. But what are you going to do on that opposite side?
Right. Yeah. No, I feel like
I don't think it's as bleak defensively as a lot of people think. I think it is right there, but you have to address the offensive line.
And to your point about the offense, it's so interesting. Like, yes, they scored a lot of points. They generated a ton of explosives. They had a couple 1,000-yard receivers, back-to-back seasons with a couple 1,000-yard receivers. Gibbs had some unbelievable moments. But the difference is, you're right. Last year, they could bully people down in and down out in the run game, and that really wasn't there, especially when they faced good to great teams on the schedule. 248-539-9797. We got calls to get to. Lions fans want to hear from you. Aiden Hutchinson says the biggest thing, the one thing, if he put his finger on it, get healthy on defense for next season. Do you agree with him? We got Overreact Gyms coming up at 9:02. Talk about the craziness and the epicness of a wild card weekend. It's 97.1.
Hey, at First Merchants Bank, they believe that the real value comes from building strong communities and strong relationships. With their new branch opening in the Fitzgerald neighborhood of Detroit, First Merchants Bank is excited to offer a banking experience that's welcoming, attentive, as well as dependable. Their easy-to-use, secure, and highly rated app makes everyday banking a breeze, allowing you to manage your accounts on the go, and their local attentive bankers are your partners in success. They're going to take the time to get to know you, give sound advice, and provide solutions that work for you. And they do that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. They're always coming to me with new opportunities. In fact, it's exactly what they've done for me, as I described over the years, and for my family. So that's why they're my personal financial partner. With a passion for fostering community development, their team is committed to helping you and your neighborhood prosper. Experience the difference of banking with an award-winning bank that truly cares about your financial journey. All you have to do is visit firstmerchants.com/Fitzgerald to learn more about how they can help support you as well. That's firstmerchants.com/Fitzgerald. First Merchants Bank, helping you prosper. Member FDIC.
Hey, earlier in the show, we gave away tickets for the Red Wings game tonight, the Sergei Fedorov night. They put 91 in the rafters. Also just a good hockey game. 2 first-place teams, Carolina in town. We'll have tickets all season long for the 100-year centennial celebration. We're going to have tickets all week for Chris Stapleton. Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow, Ford Field, Saturday, August 8th. Every day this week, we'll be giving away a pair of tickets. Today, it's the 9 o'clock hour. When you hear the drum solo to In the Air Tonight, you'll call and you win your pair of tickets.
It's a great show.
We're talking Hutch right now. He said the number one thing, if you could put his finger on it, that they need to get better at for next year, he said get healthy on defense. Do you agree with him? 248-539-9797. Tex says, I guess it's a good thing he isn't in charge of player and coach procurement. What do you expect him to say? He can't say our O-line and D-line suck. Can't go after the coordinators. It's not fair to go after him with how he answered the question. No, he played it safe. He gave a very political answer. But if you're asking me what he could have said that would have been better, he could have said we lost our edge this year. Mm-hmm. Speak generally. Include himself. I don't think he should come out and go, our center sucked.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go, Shep didn't do a good job as a first-year DC. I'm not expecting carnage or blood, but I also think you can just be honest, like, we lost our edge. We need to get back to that.
Right. Or, hey, individually, we all got to take a hard look. We all have to play better. I need to do this.
Yeah, sure. You can make it about yourself, and you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
You after the Pittsburgh game saying, well, you could look at it like the officials. No, none of that.
No.
Own it. Accept it. Don't run from it. You can speak it openly and honestly, hey, we were just not good enough this year and need to get better. And you could say it always starts in the trenches. I know I focus on what I can do. There's a better way to answer than just say, because that implies if we get healthy, we're going to be just fine. And I don't know that people can make that claim seriously watching San Francisco do what they just did.
So let's just take that comment for just a second. If they get healthy, will they be better?
Sure.
Yes. And so obviously Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, and DJ Reed before the hamstring was good. Mm-hmm. After it, not so much. And then Terrion Arnold, okay, big huge question mark. But Aleem McNeil, yes, he got healthy enough to play, but another year removed from that injury, will he be better next year? I 100% believe yes. So healthier. Yes, they'll be better, but then it comes down to execution.
Well, and the other thing is everybody's dealing with something. Every
right.
NFL team's banged up. If we're going to grant the Lions 100% health, turn injuries off, the other teams would make similar arguments. So, John, to me, whether they're healthy or not, like their safety shouldn't be the primary run stoppers for this defense.
Agree, and that's not where they were banged up.
Right. And again, whether Branch plays or Joseph plays, it doesn't help them down in and down out run the ball more effectively. So I just think it's a cop-out to say, well, if we just get healthy, we'll be fine next year. Not if you want to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
So let's get to the people. 248-539-9797. Overreact Gyms coming up at 9:02. Kyle and Troy, good morning. You're on 97.1.
Hi, guys. Love the show.
Thanks, Kyle.
Hey, to me, saying the issue with the season is injuries is, like Jim just said, complete cop-out. The difference between not in the playoffs and being in was Shane basically laid an egg in the 2 Vikings games and the Steelers games.
Yeah.
Terrible performance in those. Those performances were kind of like a microcosm of our season. It's not the end of the world. Like you guys said, if we beef up the O-line and get some help on the D-line, we can turn it around. You just can't have those performances, though, in big spots, then try to claim it was all because of injuries.
Right. Yeah, I think that's
well said. I worry about accountability with this team, and if they're feeling themselves too much based on comments, not just from what Hodge said, but also Brad Holmes. Anyway, thanks for taking my call, guys. Love the show.
No, Kyle, thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. I think, John, just as the offseason's really getting going here, I think we're trying to strike a good balance of not making any excuses about what we saw, while also not trying to go into a full-blown panic and slam windows shut, and they can't do this and they can't do that. This is going to be a big offseason because we believe this team can and should be right back in the playoffs next year competing for a Super Bowl. They just need to attack the offseason with some urgency.
Right. And, I mean, could you say if they were healthy that they're in the playoffs?
Maybe.
Is there one more win?
Maybe.
Okay, sure. But is it, and I think it goes to, okay, what is the standard? The standard should be winning a Super Bowl. is the injuries. If everybody was healthy, do you think that this year they were going to win the Super Bowl? No, they would have fallen short. Now, I say that we have no idea, and we had just got done talking about how open this playoff field is. But there were clear deficiencies, especially with the offensive line. I just don't think this offensive line would have ultimately been good enough to play against some of the better defenses, as we saw throughout the course of the year, to ultimately win an NFC championship or a Super Bowl.
248-539-9797. Text says we should be talking Red Wings all day today. First place team. Lions missed the playoffs. They don't deserve the time. It's Fedorov night. That's Ben in Wyandotte. We'll talk a little bit more about the Wings and Fedorov coming up at 9:18. And it's nothing that we... It
was a hell of a win for the Wings on Saturday night.
Yeah, no kidding.
Shutout, 4-0.
On the road. Big-time swing game in the division. No, I'd love to talk more about our hockey team. I just know football is football. Football's king. Let's get to Adam in Lansing. Adam, you're on 97.1.
I agree with everything that you guys have been saying about, Hutch's answer was politically correct, all the rest of that stuff. There were better ways of answering. Just wanted to push back on one thing that, an earlier caller mentioned it, but I've been ripping my hair out about this for a month or more, which is this fixation on whether you play a last place schedule or not. The place of your schedule affects 3 of the 17 games that you play in a season. The Lions played a so-called first place schedule this season, and that meant that they played Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and the Rams, and 2 of those 3 teams missed the playoffs. And so I think that it's easy for people, and a lot of people have been talking about that, so I just wanted to kind of put that into the conversation of a last place schedule affects 3 games out of 17. The other 14 are played according to a schedule rotation that the NFL put in place 24 years ago.
Yeah, and just so people understand, next year the Lions will, along with everybody from the NFC North, will play the AFC East, which includes a game against the Jets and the Dolphins, and they'll play the NFC South, which famously had all 4 teams finish with a losing record this year. None of that is to suggest what anyone's record will be next season.
Correct.
I do think there's something to be said for playing a last place schedule, though. I think Chicago benefited. I think San Francisco benefited. But it doesn't help you once you get in the playoffs. San Francisco had to find a way to go on the road and beat Philadelphia. And that had nothing to do with playing a last place schedule. They had to find a way to win that football game. I think Detroit will get a natural boost playing the Jets and the Cardinals and the Titans next season. But if we're just going to base it off of win 2 more games and get in the playoffs, that's not, John, to your point, that's not the standard for this football team. So they can't just bank on a last place schedule. It'll help.
Sure.
But they can't bank on it.
It'll be part of the equation, but not the entire equation.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Brian, you're next up. You're on 97.1.
Hey, how's it going, man? I have to agree with Hutch, man, because I think it is the injuries, man. Because if Jaden Daniels was healthy, we would be making the same argument, man. Washington would make the playoffs. Brock Purdy, if he wasn't playing yesterday, they wouldn't have won. So you can't say injuries is not part of it.
It's not the number one reason, which is what Hutch said.
It's not the reason. I didn't say it was the number one. I don't think Hutch said it was the number one.
He was asked what's the one thing, if you could put your finger on it, to improve for next season. And he said health on defense, injuries on defense. So he made the number one thing injuries. So it's not true.
And who's to know if Brock Purdy's not playing yesterday, Mac Jones may have won that game. He did it throughout the course of the year.
He more than kept them afloat this season. So anyway, we'll talk a little bit about the Wings in the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to talk about a lot of the wild card games from what was an incredible wild card weekend. We'll get into that with Overreactions. And you know there's going to be a note about Bregman. 97.1.
Brought to you by Mastercraft Heating and Cooling. NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports that former Miami Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel has a number of interviews lined up this week. He will interview for the vacant head coaching positions with the Browns, Falcons, Titans, and Ravens. He will also interview for the Lions offensive coordinator vacancy this week. Ian Rappaport says McDaniel's interview with the Browns is today. Cleveland has already interviewed Tommy Rees, Jim Schwartz, Bengals OC Dan Pitcher, Seahawks DC Aiden Durd, and Ravens OC Todd Monken. McDaniel was fired after 4 seasons as the head coach of the Dolphins last week. The NFL wildcard round of the playoffs is almost complete as the Texans and Steelers will conclude what was a wild weekend tonight in Pittsburgh at 8:15. And the Red Wings are set to retire the jersey of Sergei Fedorov tonight ahead of their game against the Carolina Hurricanes. Fedorov will be just the 9th player in franchise history to have his number retired. He scored exactly 400 goals in his 13-year Red Wing career. After joining the team in 1990, he helped the Wings end a 42-year Stanley Cup drought in 1997. He went on to win 3 cups in Detroit. In 94, Fedorov won the Hart Trophy after playing all 82 regular season games and scoring 56 goals with 120 points. He is the last Red Wing to win the NHL's most prestigious individual award. The game begins at 7 o'clock tonight, but the ceremony starts at 5:30, so get there early if you're going downtown. At the Corewell Health Sports Desk, I'm Brendan Shabath. For more, go to 971 The Ticket or visit Odyssey.com.
Every law firm talks about experience. David Femininio has decades of it, going up against insurance companies and winning for his clients. But here's what makes him different. He knows the only experience that really matters is yours. And when you're in a car accident, you care about your well-being. You want someone who's going to listen to you, someone who works hard for you, and someone that was going to get you paid. David gets that. Your experience matters. And when he fights for you, not for his resume. If you've been injured, call David at 855-65-CRASH or visit him on the web at getdavidgetpaid.com.
Rocket shot from DeBrincat. 4-0 your final on Saturday night in Montreal. That's a big-time win. Let the good times roll tonight.
Oh, it's huge.
Little Caesars Arena. Yeah, keep the good times going because tonight's the Fedorov night.
It should be a lot of fun. I know both of us aren't going, but for those that are going, I can't wait tomorrow morning to hear the whole lead up to the game, everything that goes on during the game. Like they've got this planned out from the moment people step foot at the LCA all the way until they leave. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And now, Heather, I think you had it in your news late last week. They're opening doors early.
Yeah, 4:20, I think.
Yeah, and then they want people in their seats by 5:30. Again, it's a 7:15 puck drop.
Yeah.
They want you in your seats at 5:30. They've got something planned, and they're going to honor Fedorov.
Yeah, and I mean, long overdue, but glad it's happening now.
Look, he's one of the 10 best players in franchise history. Last Red Wing to win an MVP award.
Yeah.
It's long overdue. It should be hanging in the rafters, and it will tonight. And he's been super gracious this entire time. I'm sure there are personal things. You know, this is probably thought it would happen or should have happened sooner, but he's been gracious, and I think it's about time. It's about damn time. But in terms of like feel good right now, Wings are in first place in their division. They just beat Montreal. Gibson had a shutout, which is a far cry from the first game of the season where they chased him. Montreal got him out of the net in game 1. John, he's played a lot better. They're playing better defense in front of him. They have a positive goal differential. Everything feels good right now for the Red Wings.
It does. And I mean, they keep slowly inching in. It's never going to be comfortable for Red Wings fans until they're in the playoffs.
Right.
Until that actually, hey, they drop the puck and you're in the postseason, but they're starting to inch forward in regards to, hey, before the difference between being in first place and being out of the playoffs in playoff position was 4 points. And we saw them bounce from, it could be on a single night where they would go from first to a last team in. Now it's 5 points, and now it's 6 points. Like they're starting to create a little bit of a buffer because we all know at some point during the season, whether it happens in the month of March or it won't happen in February because there's not many games in February, the beginning of April. Like there's going to be a skid. How long does that skid last? Hopefully it's not as long as the previous 3 Marches have been. But there's going to be that moment. They got to make hay while the getting's good.
Well, you're describing his breathing room, right? And I know people don't want to really exhale because of what's happened the last few seasons at the end, but they're creating a little bit of breathing room. They had a lead as large as 9 or 10 points 2 years ago and didn't make it. So I think that's that. How much belief do I have in what's happening? They're winning games they didn't in previous years. Their goaltending, especially the last month and a half, has been much improved. Yeah, I mean, don't want to get ahead of yourself. Don't want to get let down again. But, John, I'll just spotlight Gibson for a second here. He gets chased the first game of the year. He struggled a lot early in the season. A lot of odd man rushes, high danger chances. To an extent, he was hung out to dry by his defense. He also just wasn't making very many big saves. Things are completely different right now. Since December 1st, he's 12-2 with a .930 save percentage. He's confident that Seider-Edvinsson tandem playing damn near half the hockey game together certainly helps. They're blocking a lot of shots. They look like a much better defensive hockey team. And everybody knows the power play's potent. The penalty kill's no longer the worst in the league. Like, there are things you can point to say, well, here's why they're going to advance further or finally make the postseason. Got to see it, though.
Well, you got to see it, and you got to see how they're going to handle the Olympic break.
I know.
For those guys that are playing, also for those guys that, quote unquote, will be sitting at home. I know they're not going to be sitting around, but it may just be the perfect storm for this team in a positive way where you got a lot of young players. And I know some of them are going to play for their countries, but it's a long season and they've got a lot of young players. Are they going to be able to use that to rest up? So the 82-game season is really split into 2 much shorter seasons, and they've got a little juice at the end.
Yeah, so the Red Wings that are going to play in the Olympics, Larkin will be on USA, Seider will be for Germany, and Raymond will be playing for Sweden. I was a little surprised Edvinsson didn't make Sweden, but I guess the silver lining is nothing's going to happen. He can just rest up and be
ready to go.
Yeah, be ready for the stretch run down the stretch. Same with DeBrincat and Kane, guys that you could have argued, did they have a case? Could they have made Team USA? You always want guys to have a chance to represent their country, but at the same time, selfishly, you're like, at least they're not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So 248-539-9797. If you're going tonight, get there early. Have a good time. Sergei Fedorov night at Little Caesars Arena. And it shouldn't be lost in all of this. This isn't some throwaway game. This isn't like when your college team plays a patsy for homecoming and you're going to run up the score. This is the team with the best record in the East, the most points in the East, Carolina. So you're getting the best team in the Metropolitan against the best team in the Atlantic Division. In a lot of ways, this is kind of like last Monday night when the Pistons played the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
So go win tonight. We're going to have some fun with this hockey team tomorrow.
So it's not Michigan versus Central. That's what you're saying.
Why you got to do this? You got to be this way. Let's get to Heather with the news.
This news is brought to you by Gardner White. Well, the University of Michigan has selected its next president.
Oh.
Kent Syverud, the current chancellor of Syracuse University. Excuse me, I said that kind of funny.
Great job on the name, though.
I think that's how you say it.
I kept looking at it going, how do you say this name? Yeah.
I said it.
I
don't know if I said it correctly.
Yep.
Well, he'll officially be appointed as Michigan's 16th president today. A lawyer by training. He earned his bachelor's degree at Georgetown University School of Foreign Service before enrolling at Michigan, where he earned a master's degree in economics and a law degree. He's got ties to the state. He taught at Michigan's law school from 1987 to 1997. He met his wife in Ann Arbor. They have a home in northern Michigan together.
Wow.
So
welcome home.
There we have it. Yeah. This is crazy. So the man accused of showing up at Romulus Middle School with a gun last week appeared in court Thursday afternoon, and footage of his arraignment is now going viral after he immediately began cussing out the judge. But there's more. So first off, police say 44-year-old Shantez Gregory was standing about a foot from the school when he fired multiple shots. They say he didn't shoot at the building, but we know the whole school went into, an active shooter lockdown.
Yep.
Well, his arraignment on Zoom is crazy because he refused to answer the judge's questions. He wouldn't even give his name. He claimed that the judge and the court was wasting his time. He plugged his ears with his fingers like,
what?
La 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 la, like I'm not going to listen to you. And near the end of the hearing, he called the judge racist and told her to, quote, get a real job. Listen to this. I mean, and it went on and on and on. Very disrespectful. So the judge also noted that he had issues in the past and that he had kidnapped his son from school before. So he wasn't even supposed to be in the school zone. He wasn't allowed to pick up his son again. He's facing terrorism charges plus more for carrying a concealed weapon and a weapon in a school-free zone. Anyway, crazy though. Check out that footage. Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman has found himself at the center of a police investigation after being accused of battery at a high school wrestling event.
So his son is a wrestler,
So
right?
his son is a wrestler. So the incident took place, this was on January 3rd at his son's wrestling meet. And the opposing school's assistant wrestling coach filed a police report after he claims he got into a physical altercation with Freeman when they were leaving the gym with his son. So his son lost the meet, whatever you say, they lost the match. There you go. They were leaving the mat, heading out of the school, when it sounds like this assistant coach started saying something to them, and then the coach says there was a physical altercation. Now the school is saying, Notre Dame is saying that video evidence will fully exonerate Freeman, and that Freeman's son was verbally accosted during and after the wrestling match, and at no point did Freeman physically engage with anyone. So apparently there is some video footage that police have, but it's, sounds crazy.
Well,
really.
I mean, Marcus Freeman is, we could say whatever we want about him being a head coach of a rival or of a different school. From what I know of him, he's a great dude.
Yeah, this is surprising to read.
Yeah.
Let's let all of this one come out.
Ticket prices for the college football playoff national championship game between Indiana and Miami are at historic highs, very expensive. As of Saturday morning, the cheapest ticket for the game on January 19th is over $3,500, including fees. Cheapest ticket.
So think about it. It's in Miami.
It is.
Right, where the Canes are ready to announce that they're back.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Indiana, which I didn't even realize this, John. They have the most living alumni. Did I read this correctly? Like, they have a ton of alums that are just waiting for this opportunity to cash in and watch their football team.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. The average ticket price, $5,589.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Somebody broke down all the prices starting from 2021. The average price in 2021 was $1,700, so just over, and then dropped in 2022, 2023, and then went back up in 2024, and just keeps going.
Yeah, here it is. Indiana University now ranks number 1 for nation's largest living alumni
That's an
with
odd
over
stat.
800,000 alumni as of late 2025.
Wow.
So they've been waiting their whole life for this.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That'll drive up the price. There's the demand.
How did they get number 1 all of a sudden? Did they murder a bunch of other alumni groups?
Greg, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Hey, I mean, longevity. Maybe they're just living longer than other ones.
Yeah, well, they're not getting a heart attack from their football team until now.
Yeah, that's true.
It's Heather with the news. Hey, coming up next, it's not too early to preview next week in the NFL, is it?
No.
Bears and Rams. Ben Johnson on one side, Matthew Stafford on the other. Are the Detroit Rams back? It's 97-1. Good morning, 97.1. Jim Costa, John Jansen, Heather Park, Govin, Greg behind the glass. It is a Monday following what was pretty epic NFL wildcard weekend. All these thrilling games for the 5 coming down to that final possession in the final minutes. And, John, some of the storylines as we look ahead, you to get Ben Johnson and the Bears hosting Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Because, of course.
Yeah, why not?
Is there anybody conflicted out there in listener land? Do you know who you're rooting for in this game? You're going to watch. We're all going to watch. The NFL playoffs have been great.
Sure.
Do you have a preference? Are the Detroit Rams back?
No, to me, there was never a thing.
Should never have been a thing.
Well, and now that we're, 4 more years removed, it's certainly not a thing. Everyone's going to have a personal reason. My personal reason is I can't stand Sean McVay, so I don't want to see him win another game. It has nothing to do with Matthew Stafford, has nothing to do with Ben Johnson. And if I'm looking at, if we all look at those that graduated from our school, yeah, Blake Corum is on the side of the Rams, and there's some other guys. I'm looking at Colston Loveland in his rookie season. I'd love to see him go as deep as possible in the playoffs. So those are my reasons. I would be more on the Bears side, but it's not like I'm going to sit there and actively root for the Bears.
Yeah, I don't have the venom towards Ben Johnson that I know a lot of people in the Lions fan base have. At the same time, I don't like the Bears. They're a division rival. F the Bears. I don't want to see them hosting an NFC title game, something we haven't done yet. I don't want to see them going to a Super Bowl, something that we could have done with Ben here. It's not his fault. It's our problem, but I don't want to see it. So to me, it's pretty simple. And no, the Detroit Rams thing, Stafford winning a Super Bowl was not an accomplishment for Detroit. It was kind of a stain on the fact that Detroit had wasted a Hall of Fame level quarterback.
A decade worth of it.
Yeah. So to me, that wasn't like a feel-good story for Detroit. The Detroit Rams thing was weird. You could have personally wanted to see the guy have success, but it shouldn't have been a Detroit thing.
No, it's just like when I'm talking about Blake Corum or I'm talking about Colston Loveland. Like, yeah, I want to see those guys have personal success. I don't care about their team. And it was the same thing with Matthew Stafford. If you were that big of a Matthew Stafford fan, just because he was in LA doesn't mean you don't have to to stop cheering for him. If they're playing against your team, sure, you take a night off. But
and it might have been easier when the Lions were bad, right? You had a vacuum, like this void in your life. My football team doesn't make the playoffs. My football team doesn't win playoff games. So people could easily look at that and
ship
go,
to Team B.
Yeah, go ahead, it's a B team. But I think now that the Lions not only have made the playoffs, won playoff games, beaten the Rams in the playoffs, he got his. It's kind of how I look at it. So it's not that I'm pro Rams or I need to see Stafford or want to see Stafford win a Super Bowl. It's just the lesser of two evils here. I don't want to see the Bears win.
Any issue with Ben Johnson post-game, the handshake, the post-game video that came out of the locker room, F the Packers? Wow. Well, I guess Heather does.
No, I had no issue with it. Amon-Ra St. Brown doesn't like the Packers. We say F the Packers. We say F the Bears. It's what you do. When you're in his shoes specifically, it's a competitively charged environment. You're with your guys in the locker room. Yeah, man, F the division rival. I had no issue with how Ben Johnson conducted himself. He's all fired up. I had no issue with it, John. Did it bother you?
No. And it's, okay, the handshake was what it was. I don't think you have to sit there and hug.
No.
It was, hey, I'm going to go over there, shake his hand. I'm going to go off to the locker room. That one, to me, was blown way out of proportion. And then the whole locker room thing, I'm just happy he kept his shirt on. I don't want to see any of that. But in regards to, there didn't used to be cameras in there until 10 minutes after the final whistle. So the coach had a chance to address the team and say whatever he wanted. And the coaches say whatever they want now. They just, before it goes public, it gets all cleaned up. So, yeah, that is a message that has been said time. It's a message as old as time.
I was going to say, I'm sure you've heard worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
not going to ask you to repeat it.
Probably said worse.
You probably have. We don't need to clutch the pearls because Ben Johnson was disrespectful in his post-game speech. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, people. I get not wanting the Bears to win. That's the camp I'm in. I don't have this personal venom towards Ben, but you guys let us know. Is this a situation where you're pulling for the Rams or you're pulling for the Bears, or as one texter put it today, you want the meteor to hit the field?
Yeah.
248-539-97.
The aliens behind that meteor. Is that still a story?
No, I think that's left our...
Oh, is that left our solar
purview.
system?
Yeah, I stopped getting TikTok notifications for it, so it's probably not a
the
thing
aliens
anymore.
didn't arrive, at least that we know of.
That we know of.
Yeah.
They could be right here amongst us.
So of the three of us, who would be the alien?
You guys both looked at me. I don't like this topic. 248-539-9797. Try to stay on point, guys. Yeah, like
We'll just call you E.T. from now on. Cookies is gone. It's just E.T.
Like Saturday night, I'm just going to move on. Saturday night, you're in a weird spot. Like, again, you could have asked the question, who are you rooting for, the Packers or the Bears?
Yeah.
And that was the ultimate, like, let's just have a meteor hit the field.
Yeah, no great answer.
So, I don't know. I looked at it like this. When the Bears were losing, you see, they're pretenders. They're no good. They're finally going to get got. Well, in true to Bears form, they win the game anyway. But then you flip and go, see? Packers blew it. They're no good.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I know that there's a lot of animosity towards Ben Johnson and the fact that he's no longer in Detroit, how he left. They lost. The Lions lost to Washington. Everybody thought that he took the week off because he was doing interviews. That is how business is done. There have been other teams that have done it. They want to do it. Maybe it was too much for him. I don't know. But I'm not going to sit there and say that's the reason. There were a lot of guys that underperformed that week. And then his comments about Jared Goff and Penei Sewell and all it. I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's any more of a dork than he was when he was here.
Yeah. He didn't do anything that any other coach wouldn't do.
He just happened to be our dork.
He was. Now he's not. But he did what any coach would do. You interview during that appropriate window, which everybody does. You take the best job available, which he did. And he's been proven right. His team is still playing in the postseason.
He didn't pull a Lane Kiffin.
Right. He didn't leave during the playoffs.
And take his assistant coaches with him.
Right. Anton Randall, come on, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
No, it's nothing like that. And it's a rival, so I think there's some natural animosity and hatred, but it's not. Look, again, you can feel how you're going to feel. I'm just speaking for myself. It's not more than that.
No.
You really don't like McVay, though. I don't want to lose sight of this. That's the guy that drives you crazy.
Yeah, and some of it's his comments. Some of it's just I'll go back to something that Stoney and I used to do. It's just something about him, right?
Yep.
It's more his face than anything else. It's running around on the sidelines and hugging his buddy Matthew Stafford and the whole. Oh, we just happened to be in Cabo at the same time. Okay,
just a coincidence.
Yeah. So, yeah, for me, it's more a disdain for Sean McVay than it is for the Bears. I know that they're a division rival and people can't, I'm not expecting them to sit there and root for the Bears.
Guys, the Bears are the only NFC North team I respect. Not pulling for a win, but not going to rep the Rams either. The Detroit Rams thing was a result of the moment. The city felt like Stafford was still their QB, and we didn't know how the trade would pan out. In this game, I'll be rooting for the same thing I was in Packers-Bears. Batman and the Dark Knight Rises. This is a meteor game where you root for the meteor to crash into Soldier Field, just like last week, Will in Ann Arbor. I'm so tired of the Lions wasting Hall of Fame careers. We've had some of the best position players to ever play the game and nothing to show for it. Now, possibly, again, in multiple players, it looks like we're going to do the same thing with Stafford, Johnson, Barry, and more.
Well, I mean, yeah, but those players also have to go out there and win it. And I'm not holding Matthew Stafford harmless for the fact that they didn't win here because they did give him a Hall of Fame receiver. Now, the offensive line, all right, hey, it didn't protect him like it needed to or develop a run game. That's on management. They also didn't have a coach like the Lions have now or like he has with the Rams.
So famously,
it goes hand in hand.
In that Cowboy playoff game, people would focus on Hitchens and the PI, and I get it. That same game, people forget, they had a 4th and 1 at midfield, and they punted.
You think Dan would have done that?
I don't think Dan would have done that. And that was the only year Stafford had a good defense. The only time in his decade in Detroit they had a good defense. So if you want to say they should have won the Super Bowl the one shot, fine. But more often than not, they hung him out to dry. And now he goes to L.A., and we're watching him do it in the postseason. Game-winning drives, comebacks, Super Bowls, all of it. 248-539-9797. We have our winner for Chris Stapleton tickets, Matt in Lapeer. He was listening, heard the drum solo to In the Air tonight.
Congratulations.
Congrats. He'll go see Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow at Ford Field Saturday, August 8th. If you're bummed you didn't win the tickets today, you got a chance every day this week. It's 97.1.